welcome to another edition of the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, episode 400, Sleepy Brad Holmes. My name's Matthew Turner, alongside Anthony Fitzpatrick, and 400 up.
I know, tell me about it. It doesn't seem a minute since episode one, and here we are, all these episodes later. It's always crazy. I always have to remind myself how crazy it is. We've made it this far.
I can't believe we're still doing it, to be honest. I can't believe we still have listeners and we haven't pissed them off enough already, but there we go.
Yeah.
We are here talking about Sleepy Brad Holmes, as a certain politician might call him, due to potentially the lack of activity that the Lions have shown in free agency. But there have been some signings, and we're going to go into them in some detail this afternoon. Hope everyone's well in the chat. If you want to send us any questions, then we'll take them at the end of the show. Please do join our Discord channel. We'd really appreciate you coming on board. Links in the live chat right now. Really lovely community of Lions fans for you guys to be a part of all year round. College football podcast, and still going strong at this time of year. What are you talking about this week?
I don't know at this moment. I'm going to be decided. I've not got around to sorting it yet, so we'll get there eventually.
What did you talk about last week?
What did we talk about last week? We did a bit about the combine, tight ends, the tight end class of 2026 going back to college, and then we did a little challenge between the two of us. Me and Rye did. We basically gave ourselves a load of random teams where we've got to pick the best collegiate players from that team for it and see who can make the better team, which is quite fun. So we'll be revealing our teams for that.
Love it. Please do like this episode, sub to the podcast. It really helps push the episode out into the people who haven't yet discovered us, and do add our friends at Lions Nation Unite, that's Herman Moore's project to bring the best in Lions content creators together. We're Twitch affiliated, YouTube monetized, tip jar down below, feedback form too. If you have any thoughts on the show, we'd love to hear from you. A little bit of news to kick us off, and a sad day for all of the big play Slay fans out there, and as a card carrying, shirt owning member of that group, Darius Slay announcing his retirement from professional football is a sad day indeed. I still rue the day that he was ran out of here. His career as a Lion was 7 seasons. He played in 103 games. He had 19 interceptions in that time with 1 pick six. He had 104 passes defensed, a forced fumble, 2 fumble recoveries, a sack, 347 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, a quarterback hit, and an AV rating that a lot of people never sniff. He got his only first team All-Pro in Detroit colours, despite what people may tell you about his time in Philadelphia. He was a 6-time Pro Bowler. When he went to Philly, he stayed there 5 years, of course won a Super Bowl, got himself 9 interceptions there in the 5 years he was there, including 2 pick sixes, had another 56 passes defensed, a forced fumble, 3 fumble recoveries, including 2 fumbles recovered for a touchdown, 272 tackles, 11 TFLs, and then he ended up in Pittsburgh, where he barely played for a season, and a storied career that one, a lot of people would be envious of. He was drafted in the 2nd round by the Lions at the top of it, and he's still younger than me. And, that sort of career, 1 All-Pro, one championship, being at that level for that period of time, led the league in interceptions once in a year. He might make the Hall. It might take him a while, but he's going to be on the fringes. But I don't know whether he's going to go in as a Lion, as an Eagle. In the end of the day, he was one of our best, especially with us growing up with the Lions as we did.
Yeah, it's very telling that to this day, since we drafted him, we've not drafted anyone else remotely competent at cornerback. Like, it's been our Achilles heel. We've been absolutely terrible at it, and it just goes to show kind of how rare a pick that he was for us. But yeah, I loved him. I love watching him play. I love the way he played, the swagger he carried himself with, just how he represented at the end of the day. And I will never forgive Matt Patricia for chasing him out of town Because then it just, led to, you kind of lost the heart of that team when he went, and then we had the whole Akuda thing, and we've just never really recovered from that. So it's a shame to have seen him do some of his better work. I know not the All Pro and that away from here, but yeah, it's been a great career for him. He'll not go in the Hall. I don't think he'll go in the Hall. I don't think he's even close to being in the Hall, but he's had a very good career. Maybe he'll go in the Lions one day. Hopefully he does. But yeah, I wish him all the best. I hope he has a great retirement. It's weird to say a great retirement for them because they're all still our age. So he's got a full lifetime to go. Yeah, he's got plenty on his plate that he'll do. But whatever is next for him, I hope he does really well. But yeah, it's a shame he didn't get to see out his time here.
Before we get into talking about the rest of the free agent class, we've got a question from Det Fan Man I just want to ask about because I don't know anything about this guy, so I'm the wrong person to ask. Det Fan Man asks in the chat, I want to learn more about Tyre West. I can't even find him on mock draft boards. Apparently he got an official visit and is a Roar the Lions UK favourite. I have found him on mock draft database because our friend Sam Teets, and do go and check out Sam Teets' stuff online because he's exceptional. He's the only mock drafter in the space who has mocked him at all, but he has been mocked once. He spoke to Justin M recently about his pre-draft process. He played for the Tennessee Volunteers. I think he's gone to also have meetings with the Jets. Do you know anything about him?
Only little bits. I know he's the one interesting fact. I think he's the younger cousin of Larry Dean. Everyone knows Larry Dean. So there's NFL pedigree in his family, but he's just kind of been a very steady defensive tackle for Tennessee for his entire career. He was like a big four-star prospect at one point. Never kind of really worked for him. He always worked in rotation. I think he's never played like more than 250 snaps in a season. But he's got some good pass rushing chops to him, to be fair. He's got 12 sacks in college, which considering he's not played that much, it's pretty consistent with how he gets them. So I can see why they're taking a look at him. We need some more pass rushing threats. He's quite chunky as well. He's like 280, 290. For a D tackle, he's good chunk, but so. You're not going to find out too much more than that. All I just say is he's been a very serviceable rotation player for Tennessee, who's got some pass rush upside. And that's kind of it with him, really. Can't really say much more. He's going to be a UDFA more than likely. The Lions have been using their top 30s on UDFA guys so far. It seems to be because obviously they're the most unknown, so you want to get the closest look at them. You'll know your best players by now. But yeah, I mean, there's potentially something there with him. Think, what's his face? A couple of years ago. I'm gonna have to come back to it. The South Carolina State guy we had on roster. I can't remember his name. He'd be very similar to him. So yeah, UDFA guy, whole challenging camp at best, I reckon.
Right, let's move on to the signings the Lions have made. We're then going to talk about the remaining holes to be filled in free agency or otherwise. And first off, we're going to start with the former Kansas City Chief, Isaiah Pacheco. He's been signed to replace David Montgomery, we presume, as a power back between the tackles guy. He signed a 1-year, $1.81 million deal. In his Kansas City career, which he's been out for the last 4 seasons, he's gone for 576 carries and 2,537 yards and 14 touchdowns. He's also had 88 for 105 and 554 yards and 3 touchdowns through the air. His 2022 and 2023 grades by PFF were 76.2 and 79.9. But then in 24 and 25, they fell dramatically to 63 and 58 in this most recent season. He broke his leg. He fractured his fibula in 2024, where he missed 9 games. He only had 276 snaps in that season compared to 781 in his previous one. And then in this most recent season, he only had 424 snaps when totally healthy. And I don't really think that Kansas City massively replaced those reps. I mean, I know that they aren't a particularly high volume rushing team. They brought back Kareem Hunt to kind of fill in for some of those, but Pacheco for me was still the better back of those two. And he's kind of fallen off a cliff since that injury. It's taken him a while to get back, and it does often when it comes to these pretty horrific injuries, knees, ACL, Achilles, broken legs. They do take a while, and sometimes they never get back to their former form. But I think there's a little bit of low risk, high reward here going on. He's still fine, a 60 PFF grade is okay, and at 1.8 million, if you get no more than that, it's fine. There's a possibility he rebounds a little bit into his previous form because he's far enough removed now from that injury.
Yeah, it's the theme with all these guys. They're low risk, high reward, 1 year deals, not going to cost us a lot of money, and potentially what you could get with them is far more than you're going to be paying them. Like you say, Pacheco's best days are obviously long gone. It's 3 years since the couple of 1,000-yard seasons. He had all that about him, and it's all to do with the injury. How much has it hindered him again? A leg break for any running back, it's tough, but like he's tiny. He's only like 5'9", 5'10", so he's a shorter running back. Generally, the legs, the effort they put in there, the change of movement, all that sort of stuff, it might affect him a little bit more. He can't just churn it forward, as it were. But it is what it is. We were never going to get a Monty level replacement here. Someone who can just consistently go out and get 1,000 yards and is as durable as as they come. So that was always going to be a downgrade. But he is the wild card option. Like you say, if it has been the line that's been a problem, and the line's been shite at run blocking in Kansas City, so he's going to be in a better team here. He's going to be clear running back two here. He'll have a job to do. His pass protection's pretty good as well, which helps. And he is sort of a similar style to Monty. So, I like this out of all the other sort of chances we've taken. This one does feel pretty decent. I still think we'll draft a guy to go with this room. And he'll probably only be here for 1 year anyhow. Even if he does ball out in a year, like we'll not be able to pay him next year. So it's just a stopgap, I think, while they get the next guy in and develop him. But he is, as far as they go, he's pretty good. And if Gibbs ever had time out, I would trust him to come in for a game or two and take the majority load.
What do you think about him in terms of the style of play that he has?
He's bloody tough. I remember the first couple of years, like it felt so hard to bring him down. Like you'd just see him ball into the middle of a scrum. It's when we were always rooting against the Chiefs to fail. And he just seemed to be able to keep on his feet all the time. Like that second year, he had like 50 odd missed tackles or something like that. He's very slippery. But he's very tough as well. He'll get you those hard yards if you need to. Kind of like Monty again, doesn't have the breakneck speed to go and escape and house an 80, 90-yarder type, but I think he's a lot more similar than we think with him in terms of how he plays. I like how he plays. He can make something out of nothing if need be. He can be one of those that's hit behind the line of scrimmage and still get 2, 3, 4 yards. By just his effort and the levels he puts in there. Obviously, it's regressed these last couple of years. You just hope a full off-season, better team here, he'll start to rediscover a bit of what he's about. But I like his style of running.
He's definitely a Detroit-style player. His ability to just kind of put his head down and run north-south as a downhill runner, he kind of only has one speed, and it's 100%. Like, There's nothing in between. I do think, there are reasons why he was the 251st pick in the draft when he went. Like, his vision isn't amazing. He doesn't spot some gaps that he potentially should hit. But his style of runner, he gets downhill, he's told to run into a particular gap, and he tries to run into that gap. And in some ways, when you've come out of the DeAndre Swift experience, where you might run away from that sort of thing. Yes, sometimes you'd like him to get his head up and try and maybe find a hole for himself, make a cutback that could create some space. But sometimes the argument of just do what you're told to do, and he does that bloody well. Like, he always falls forward. he hits much greater than how heavy he is. I think it's 5'10", 215, 210-ish, and it's a bit of a bowling ball. He surprised everyone when he got to the Chiefs because as a seventh rounder, when everyone was thinking the Chiefs really need someone, I think he got drafted when they were at the back end of the Clyde Edwards-Helaire experience, and he was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, took him out the team, replaced their first rounder, and took his job from him. It's always impressive. There's no doubt in his fight and commitment. Like I said, seventh rounder, even for a running back, it's low, and not that many of them can make rosters and make successes of themselves. So he's certainly, and played his college football at Rutgers. He's used to being an underdog. He's used to playing against much better opponents and proving them wrong. So, he's got the right mindset. Like his entire career he has. And plus he's had success. He's been to a Super Bowl and won it. Been playing in the biggest of games and he's got that experience that a lot of our players don't have, so that'll come invaluable as well.
All right, let's move on to our second guy. And this is someone formerly in division, someone who, while I'd never feared this person, I always thought that they were going to come up with a play or two from the tight end position for the Minnesota Vikings. As tight end Tyler Conklin has come over to the Lions. He spent last year at the LA Chargers. Terms have not been disclosed for Conklin yet, so we're not going to talk about the contract, although maybe we can speculate as to how much we think it might be. But at the Chargers, he signed a one-year, $3 million deal with $2.7 million guaranteed. And it's safe to say it didn't go well for him at LA. He started off as the primary starter for the first 3 games or so, but he actually only ended up playing a total of 169 offensive snaps, having not played less than 770 in the preceding 4 seasons. So he just got passed in the depth chart by people like Aronde Gadsden and Will Dissly. And I mean, as a 3 tight end rotation, that's pretty bloody good, especially with what Gadsden was able to do last year. But Conklin's coming off, potentially the worst season of his professional career, at a 43.3 grade last season. Run blocking has never really been his forte. He's a relatively good pass blocker as a tight end. And this is someone who, didn't start off at Minnesota as anything more than a kind of rotational guy. He ended up being the starter in his final season with Minnesota in 2021. And in that season, he had 61 catches of 593 yards. And in fact, that started off a 3-season stretch where he had 87 targets in each season. He's had 11 touchdowns in his career. This is, if he can recapture some of that New York Jets form in between the Vikings and the Chargers, a serviceable tight end with reliable hands who can get you more than 500 yards a season. And, for a tight end too, especially with Sam Laporta's injury, this is, again, a kind of low-risk, high-reward situation, I think, for the Lions.
Yeah, he's shite, really. As a block, like it's impressive that we found a worse run blocker than Brock Wright, which was tough to start with. He's rubbish at blocking. Conklin's here as the pass catcher. He's not here to block. He can't block. It's not his game. Never has been. We need another pair of hands to catch while Laporta's down with his injury, or if Laporta's ever out there. I fully expect them to still go out and find a blocking tight end from somewhere, be it the back end of free agency or more preferably the draft. Yeah, he's here as the pass catcher. He's 1B as the pass catcher, but we've still not got a blocking tight end on this roster, like a specialist one. Neither of them are reliable enough to do it. It's a cheap option. I would expect that when Sam's healthy, fully raring, ready to go, that he might even make his way off the roster. Conklin, I don't expect him to be around long. I'm not infused by it. It's just he's a serviceable pass catcher is what he is, and there's no more to it than that. We can do much better in the draft. Getting someone younger who can also catch, who has got more upside to blocking for them, and we can teach them as we go on. I'm still not impressed at all with the tight end room. So this is the one where I'm just like, meh, I really can't be bothered with it. Obviously, having him and the Porter on in 2 tight end sets, and that will give you some nice little options in the pass plays and stuff. But yeah, we've got to find someone who's much better for blocking. The run game has to be made a priority this year, and the tight end room's not good enough for it at the minute.
I definitely agree with the run blocking element of what you're saying. The pass blocking, I have absolutely no problem with him whatsoever. He came into the league as someone who wasn't very good at blocking either in pass or run. And obviously, a massive part of what we do is tight end blocking. They have to be able to be good at that. So that's a big deficiency. I'm not going to, say it isn't. But in terms of having him on the field in obvious passing situations where he can release upfield as a weapon, or he can be into block, I do think that he's gotten significantly better through his career as a pass blocker. So I'm going to try and go to bat for him a little bit for that. He was so bad last year, It's not. I've always said the best available evidence to see who someone is their most recent season, because, well, it's what we've just seen, So I would be hypocritical to say that this is going to be a really, really good signing because he's just come off the worst season of his professional career. But equally, that's probably why he's here. That's probably why we've been able to get him. Now, I don't know what the contract terms are, but considering he was on $3 million last year and he was bad, I'm anticipating nothing more than half that. $1.5 million or vet minimum. I don't think it's going to be any more than that.
He needs to be vet minimum. He's not that good. And we say the pass blocking's got better. He's got 70 pass blocking snaps in the last 3 years. Not exactly a prime sample size for just how good he is. He's not asked to do it very much. Tight ends are not in general. And to be honest, in my list of wants for what tight ends can do, there's pass catching, run blocking, right down there is pass blocking. I don't really want someone in to do that. So again, he's here as a hands catcher. He's got the one good thing is he's got very reliable hands, usually for the most part. He doesn't dirt many. Usually quite solid when you target him. So that's the one thing going for him. But I would still expect him to try and get stronger here. And I don't think he would be a lock to make a roster next year.
No.
Because obviously they love Brock Wright for some reason. And I still think we're going to draft somebody. And I don't think we take 4. So there's no guarantee he makes it anyhow.
I actually haven't looked at what Brock Wright's contract is for this season.
It's about 4.6 million. It's terrible. I don't know how the hell we're paying him so much.
4.7
That's
million.
what he's up against on the roster.
But his base salary is 3.3 with none of it guaranteed. So So one of the hot takes I had was that if we signed a tight end and then we drafted a tight end, that Brock Wright could actually be one for the chopping block to save
one of them's out
cash.
the door. These are not our starting 3 tight ends next year. Again, let's just assume Sam's going to be healthy. These are not the 3 who are going to start on the roster. We can do so much better than the pair of them, and I would expect them to if the opportunity arises.
Yeah, I would save 3.9 million against the cap with a cut. Hang on, that is not true. That is not true. That's the dead money. 940,000 is all you'd save.
Yeah.
Why? He's got a base salary of 3.3 million. Why can't we cut him and get all that back?
Might have been guaranteed at start of league year. Because league year's come and gone now, so
it's because there's 3 void years in, and it's the prorated.
They roll up. Void years only count if they see out the end of their contract, I believe. They roll up like all the other.
Yeah, they do roll up. So he's going to count against the cap 2.7 million next year, despite not being on the team. Yikes!
I'd still, even for these amounts of money, I would still get rid of them if I didn't find that if there were better options there. So neither's safe in my eye, and neither should be safe. It's a room we can certainly improve.
All right, time to talk about this next one, and this is the one which has got a few people up in arms, and this is someone who has also played in Division for a significant period of time, but even though he's been in Division for 4 out of the last 5 years, and we're not allowed to have an opinion on him because we have absolutely no idea who this is. And if you haven't seen the spat that Ant has had with some people on Twitter, specifically either Lions fans or Chicago Bears fans, in fact, mostly Lions fans, I think, but I don't know. This is the offensive tackle, Larry Borom. Now, Larry played last season with the Miami Dolphins and has signed with the Lions on a 1-year, $5 million deal with a $2.5 million signing bonus and $4.9 million guaranteed. That puts him, I think, in the top 50 tackles paid
Top
in the
48 is 48th.
48th when there are 64 starters. So this is big money for someone who we are seriously hoping is going to be our swing tackle and not our starting right tackle. But that sort of money puts him in the realm of someone that you worry is going to be your starting right tackle this season. Now, for the Miami Dolphins, he had 16 games and 11 starts and a PFF grade of 60.7, which was his best season since 2022. He's played 4 years before that with the Chicago Bears, playing between 329 and 633 snaps. It's worth mentioning that his level of snaps reduced year on year as a Chicago Bear as they trusted him less and less. And for him, his calling card again has been pass blocking, whereas his run blocking has been so-so, I would say. His pass blocking, as Jeremy Reisman has pointed out, as a Miami Dolphin, was poor in the first 4 weeks of the year, and from then on didn't hit a grade below 67. So the pass blocking stayed at a consistently high level for basically 2/3 of the season. And he played on a and I mean, I think it's worth saying that Miami Dolphins offensive line was absolutely atrocious. So posting any sort of positive figures is a bit of a win, but this seems like a lot of money for someone who looked like they confined themselves to being a career backup.
It is, and if you don't think there's a possibility he's going to be a starter, the fact he is the 48th highest paid tackle, like you said, there's 64 starters in this league. He is 16 up from there, and that's, and even like guys who've been drafted in the first round and that are probably going to be earning up here. So it's not like, there's a ton of rookies behind, which is just sort of elevating his position. They're not. Most of them are above him. So I don't know. I really don't know about this one. And I've asked Grandizer about it, and he said he was decent last year, but his run blocking again is poor. The first staple of a tackle who plays for this team they have to be good at run blocking. And over his career, he's been bad at it. I know what the thinking is, 2,500 career snaps. That's great. I admire the fact they've gone for somebody who's actually I've been asking for someone who's got experience in the league to come and do this job for us. But he's just been really poor, and how much of that was down to Chicago, I don't know. I know he's done better last year, but the run blocking's still been rubbish. And, Miami liked to run the football, and he wasn't very good at it last year. Pass protection, fine, but I mean, a lot of games you're just chasing from behind. Teams are in prevent against you because you're coming back from so far behind in games. It's kind of a little. I mean, I know Al's come up with all these fucking obscure stats that make him look amazing, but the fact you have to go obscure to try and. If he starts next year as tackle 3, that's fine. I've got no issues with this. He cannot be a starter for us. We are better than him, and we have a better caliber than him, and it's. I'm just not enthused. The only thing is, it's not another Skip or another, Matt Nelson or someone like that who's just this journeyman who's never really played much until he's come here and been a tackle 6 type, offensive lineman 6 type. I mean, if you want to bring him in that situation, great. Having an extra pass blocking tackle in is great for big sets and stuff like. You can do a little bit more with him as long as he's the backup guy. And whoever comes in. At worst, okay, he starts the first few games whilst the rookie tackle beds him sent in, and then they swap, and the rookie gets the vast majority of snaps here. But I've seen him play for 4 years. I know how bad he is, and 1 year doesn't make a sudden great player. And there's a reason, we've got him. And I know he's from Detroit, and that has probably helped, but again, not enthused by this. Because, I mean, even if he does do well, you ain't going to be paying him next year because he's going to want too much money. That's the thing with all these low-risk guys we bring in. The more of them that are starters, the worse it is for us because we can't pay them next year and we got to find new starters. So the whole precipice of what we're doing is these guys are backups. These guys are depth, and that is it. So that when they all leave next year, it doesn't affect us as much. So yeah, I'm still not sold. As long as we get someone in the draft really high, I don't mind. But yeah, not as a starter.
Just want to point everyone in the direction of the excellent article by Ryan Matthews talking to Kevin Noel, who's a Dolphins insider. And I'm just going to quote the end of this article. I've put the link in the chat for the article, so please do go and read and support our friends over there. So this is from the insider as the way to summarize Larry Borom. And he says, maybe the best way to explain Borom is just that he still feels like a raw talent. He was a fifth-round pick in 2021, so you would expect him to be hitting his prime, but despite turning 27 this month, he still feels like there is growth and potential that needs to be rounded out. I know this was not a glowing review, and nor was it meant to sound like one. Nor was it meant to sound like I do not think he can play. Borom is a good depth addition who should be the swing tack on game day and make spot starts when needed. Which I think just says absolutely everything you need to. He is still raw as a sixth year player. Maybe there will be growth. There is room for him to improve, especially with better coaching, potentially. But it's a 1 year deal on a lot of money where maybe we're not getting that guy at least to start with. And then when he does improve, maybe he won't be here next year. So, it's one of those where I just hope I never see him on the field. And that's the nicest thing I can say about him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, it's a 1 year thing, so it's not too offensive in the whole line of things. But yeah, I think, if we want to be going for a Super Bowl and we want to do that, then ideally you don't want him in as your starter. But hopefully he'll provide good veteran depth, and if someone goes down hurt, it's not the worst thing in the world to have him coming in.
Right, time to finish off this run of offensive line players by talking about the one that was basically at the top of everybody's list who was saying that they didn't want to sign Tyler Linderbaum for that sort of money. This is the signing for a fairly chunky wad. The centre, Cade Mays. He comes on a fairly hefty 3-year, $25 million contract with $14 million guaranteed. He is coming by way of the Carolina Panthers, where he played 52 games, of which 27 were starters. His PFF grades in those 4 years were 62.6, 58.3, 66.1, and 61, where he played the most snaps in his career in this most recent season with an average grade. He started off his career playing both left and right guard in 2022 and 2023 before taking over full-time as a centre in 2024, playing about 500 snaps, and then as the full-time starter at centre for Carolina last season, playing just under 800 snaps. What else did I have here? That was pretty much it. And a lot of people calling for Cade Mays as maybe the highest potential, most realistic option that we had, looking at the player he is and maybe seeing the chemistry work, the way that he operates and how it fits with us as a team. I think you were one of the ones calling for this potentially the loudest. Maybe I'm misremembering, but what do you like about him? What does he still need to do? It took him a while to take over that starting spot from Carolina, but I think it bears saying that Carolina in last season, where he was the full-time starter for the first time, spent a huge amount of resources on the offensive line as they tried to protect Bryce Young. And he not only retained his spot, but got an upgrade.
Yeah, we wanted a steady center. We wanted someone who played plenty there and knew what they were doing, and that's what we got. Not the sexiest option on the market, but it doesn't need to be. I mean, look at his career trajectory. He was a sixth-round pick, took his time to get in the team, made his mark when he got in the team, and then they moved him inside. Obviously, he was a center in college, so he knows what he's doing there. He's done really well considering he's not played the position as much. I'm not too worried about grades or anything like that with him because he's still got a lot of growth at the position at the NFL level, and you saw sparks of what he was about last year. I really like that Carolina team, everything that they were about. They defied a lot of critics last year. And that team's come from the doldrums really. So he's had to work his way up the hard way, which is what you want. And you can kind of see that about him, about what they would like with him. As I say, good experience. Pass blocking's really good. That's what we had problems with Graham, with having rookies in as well. You want someone who can help leak the amount of pressure coming through the interior to Goff first and foremost. I know we like the run blocking stuff, but you know, we need to keep Goff upright first and foremost, which is the thing with that, and that's what he's really good with. So he just adds some stability to us. I don't mind the multi-year deal because right now we've no center on the roster rather than him, apart from, backups and stuff that we've brought in and guys who haven't really played much there. So we need stability for the next few years. Even if you were to draft the center this year, it's probably going to be a year or two before they're ready, which is when Maze's deal with us will be done or cuttable. So, we've got stability at one of our biggest positions of need. It was a big pickup for us. I like the player. I like his journey. I like how he plays, and again, I like the fact there's going to be a lot of growth still to come from him. You've not seen the best version of him at centre yet, and he's got one of the best coaches in the league to learn off. Hopefully, a much more stable unit next to him to learn off as well. I'm looking forward to seeing him, Ratledge, and Penne on the right hand side of that line this year. But yeah, I like the signing, like everything about it. I'm looking forward to seeing him.
Like you say, there's a lot of growth to come. He's still kind of learning the position. Someone in the chat wanted to point out how well he's done at protecting against sacks. He's allowed 23 pressures in the last 2 seasons when he's played at centre and has not given up a sack in that time. One thing I do think he needs to clear up is he's given up 8 penalties in the last 2 seasons, which isn't ideal from the centre position because maybe you give away the odd hold. There should never be a false start as a centre. Obviously, you're basically in control of all of that. I do think it bears saying that we have talked about our identity as a run-blocking team. And despite the fact that he plays with incredible ferocity and he loves to be a mauler, his technique lacks in the run game. It's almost like he wants to hit so much that he's not quite thinking about it as much as he should. He's not a cerebral player, shall we say, by any means. He is someone who's going to go and attack. And, I mean, that's Detroit all over. But in terms of effectiveness, I think he's got some way to come in that regard. Whereas when it comes to pass blocking, sitting in that pocket, absorbing contact, as a 6'6", 330 guy, he's ragnail sized, and in that way, good anchor, absorbs contact, doesn't give up sacks. So in some ways, if we can develop him as a run blocker, this has a chance to be exceptionally good. But when things come to passing downs and he's just going to be asked to sit there and not let anything get past him, I think it's going to be okay. It does bear mentioning if he's just learning the position. He might have 2 nearly rookies next to him, sophomores next to him, for all intents and purposes. And maybe that's a slight concern. If he has some experienced starters either side of him, that would be a bit nicer. But that interior is going to remain pretty raw.
It is, but you've got to forget they had 5 starting right guards at Carolina last year. So, they had 5 guys who took triple-digit snaps at right guard. It was a revolving door. So he's used to having to work with different, and probably the run blocking suffers when you've got no continuity with your interior guards and you're having to work with a new one every other week. It's not the easiest for him. Again, he's learning the position. And you have to think about, Tennessee runs a spread offense in college, so they don't do the traditional run blocking stuff in the way they play football. So it's obviously, he comes out of college underdeveloped in the run game because of the system he's been in, and then because he's been moving around here, there, and everywhere for Tennessee, and he's had to wait his time as well. It's just a part of his game which is developing, and he's not. Hopefully here we play him center, we leave him there, and having stability at one position, having the right training, and just more reps at it, you'll see it come over time. But That I think there are extenuating circumstances why you can say the run blocking is not at its tippy toppiest yet. But again, I don't mind. He brings a lot of good to the table, so I'm willing to let him have some time to work his way in. Tate and that he's got one side of the line shored up next to him. He doesn't have to worry about his right hand side. It's just whoever's starting at left guard next to him and at tackle there, you've got to kind of keep an eye on. But I think he's in a decent position to succeed.
All right, let's move on to the next guy, another one for which the terms have not yet been disclosed, but maybe the one I am the most excited for, and that is cornerback Roger McCreary. Roger was drafted by the Tennessee Titans. That's Larry Borom's bloody thing. How have I not changed that? That's very, very annoying. McCreary drafted at the top of the second round in 2022 by the Tennessee Titans. He was then traded at the early part of last season for a conditional conditional 5 for a conditional 6 between Tennessee and the LA Rams. He actually spent 5 weeks on IR with a hip injury between weeks 12 and 16, so his time in LA was severely curtailed. But in 2025, he still managed to have time to have an interception and 2 passes defended, a sack, 37 tackles, a TFL, quarterback hit, PFF grade of 72. And in the 3 seasons before that at Tennessee, he played in 47 games, had 2 interceptions, 15 passes defended, and a forced fumble, 3 sacks, 220 tackles, 21 TFLs, 4 quarterback hits, PFF grades of 63, 71, and 61. And this is someone who started off the draft process in 2022, which was one of the first that we did, and I remember him very, very well. Who came in as someone that was being billed as a very small, and actually he's not as small as I thought he was, 5'11", 190, outside corner who was maybe best in class in that draft when we started the draft process. Now, he kind of got pigeonholed as we got further into that process as potentially a nickel only as opposed to being an outside guy, and that's where he found himself in the league in pretty much its entirety. Played a bit on the outside, but 1,800 snaps in the slot, 900 on the outside. Started on the outside for Tennessee, then they kicked him inside when it kind of wasn't working as well as it could do. And he's really kind of shone through his career. Slot corner is, you're on a hiding to nothing most of the time, but everything that they were saying about him and why he could exist on the outside was that he played bigger than he was competitive at the catch point, very shifty, very twitchy, and, he's coming off another injury, which is not exactly ideal. But he did come back for LA and played in Week 18 and the wildcard game and the divisional round and the conference championship and posted some good grades. 42 snaps in the game against Chicago and then 25 snaps in the game against Seattle and acquitted himself very, very well. So without the terms being disclosed, and I think, being traded as on his rookie contract, we have no real idea what he's going to get paid. But considering it was only a 6 or a 5, maybe not that much, that this is, again, a low-risk, high-reward signing, and probably the Lions' nickelback one as it currently stands.
You would think so. And, with good reason, the cornerback room's been decimated a bit. Ennis can't be trusted to stay healthy. We needed someone who could come in and play slot full time. We would not be able to pay Meek what we needed to. And this is probably about the most experienced option you could have got there. It's the guy's got a lot of snaps behind him, like over 2,500 in college, over 3,000 in the NFL. Like he's seen a lot. And he's had to transition position in the NFL as well. Like you said, he was an outside corner at college. They've moved him to slot corner in the NFL, which is quite difficult. And you look at the numbers, and the numbers may not seem too good. Like last year, you give up at 83% of receptions thrown against you is incredibly high. for the production on there, and you look at the NFL passer rating, it's not really good. But then you start looking at things like, yards per reception and bits like that. They're actually quite low. A lot of the stuff thrown in front of him, there's not too much yak after the catch, so there are positive aspects of it there. And he's still learning how to play inside on the slot properly. But for me, he's good size, 5'11", 190. I like that. Good proper build. Again, a lot of experience in the NFL, and there are traits to him that I do enjoy. But the coverage has got to just get a little bit better with him. That's what's sucked with our corners for years now. They give up so much in terms of targets coming their way, and that's so you've got to bring it down. But again, for 1 year, for getting a highly experienced nickel in, which is what we needed, it is one of the best signings they could have made. So hopefully, again, in a more settled system with us, obviously. Rams last year, it's kind of a little bit of this and that. Secondary got toasted a bit. It wasn't the greatest in the world, even though it got a few picks in there. Tennessee have not been great really in his time there. They've kind of been a bit of a mess. So you kind of hope a more settled home for him allows him to really flourish. And I do think I think he will have a good season here. I do look forward to seeing him with us. I think he will be the starter. He'll learn that pretty quick. So yeah, things to like, things not to like. But again, all these 1 year guys, there's a reason they're 1 year guys and they're not getting massively paid on someone else's roster somewhere, you know. So, but no, I think the Lions did a cracking job with this. After Mays, it's probably the best signing they've done in a position of need, which really helps us.
So McCreary ran a 4.540 and he has a 1.58 10-yard split, which is not super twitchy for a corner, especially someone who's 5'11", 190. But it's not slow. And one thing I really like about him is he's had 4 sacks in the last 3 seasons. We love to blitz a nickel, We showed that with Branch. When Branch went back, we didn't do it as much. But if Roger can bring that to us, I'd be very, very happy with that. But what do the Lions need from a nickel corner? They need, when they're taking off one of their linebackers, who they're hoping that linebacker can either blitz or drop back in coverage. If you're going to replace that with a nickel, the nickel has to be able to survive in the run, because you're going to hope that he can bring that blitzing and that coverage with him. He's a good coverage corner. There's absolutely no doubt about that. He's a good man coverage corner, and so fits in that regard. I think he's a reasonable blitzer. He's twitchy-ish. He's not slow. He can bring that. I think he's got good deception when it comes to that sort of thing, not unlike a certain Nigerian who's now at the Miami Dolphins, or was at the Miami Dolphins. But the one thing he really, really does well is as a cracking run defender. So if we are, and we haven't got another linebacker, and we're going to come on to it, if we are going to play more nickel and a bit less base, Roger being able to survive against the run, is absolutely massive.
There's that. And I very well remember his calling card coming out of college is how aggressive he is when he's up in press. And I've said for years, our corners are incredibly weak against opposition wide receivers. They kind of let them dominate them and let the routes develop on them. We've needed someone who's a bit more aggressive at the line of scrimmage in press, and this is what he'll be. He'll give us some much needed chops. Again, that's why the speed wasn't as much of an issue with him, because he was able to keep jamming guys off the line and take them off, and so you wouldn't need the elite speed to get with them. So I'm always up for more aggressive DBs at the line, make wide receivers' days a little more difficult. And he's got the frame to be able to do it. So yeah, that and the run stuff I think it's a big addition to us, because we needed it. We needed it really. Like so, I've been asking for sort of bigger corners and that, because I want guys who are more aggressive on the line of scrimmage and can give it back a little bit more rather than just get picked apart all over the place. So that's what I kind of really like about this. He gives us something that most of our other guys don't have.
Yeah, I'm super high on him in terms of what he can do here. I do think, and just to kind of close this off finally, if he does super well, you'd hope to be able to keep him. But the problem, as always, with these 1 year deals is if he really balls out, he's going to be going elsewhere.
This is the problem with the team building strategy that Brad's employing. When you do it through the draft, you've got no money free for free agents. Which is why we're having to do this every year and landing on a different bunch of free agents every year when you're having to go through the bargain bin with injury guys who've not been in the right system, whatever, and hoping they all come good at once to be good enough to win a Super Bowl is the challenge. Like, this team doesn't win with its superstars being good. It wins by its depth being good. And, having to reset all the time. Because as you said, we can't afford to pay any of them. We damn sure ain't going to be able to afford to pay any of them next year when we've got another four massive deals coming on the books as well. So, you've got to hope these guys can really exceed expectations. And, again, like I've said, since Slay, we've not had a great corner here. When was the last time we had Slay's probably the last All-Pro corner we had. I don't even know if we've had a Pro Bowl corner since then, unless we've had a really popular guy on the roster. But it's been the standards have been so low that you're kind of just like, it doesn't matter who comes here. We've had some of the best. We had Justin Coleman, best nickel in the league when he came here, and he was absolutely useless. And we've, probably Jerry Jacobs has had one of the best years of a corner of us. He was a damn undrafted free agent. So, I always maintain skepticism about corners just because we have such a rotten history with them. But I do think McCreary will book a trend with us and absolutely will not be able to pay him next year. But I'm hoping they will draft a corner, I reckon, and I would reckon they would draft one who will sort of play inside, maybe. And Roger McCreary will be the guy, probably because we got a ton of day three picks. So I'd say you will take a slot corner on day three, and you will bet him in for the year. Well, hopefully Roger balls out and then make the transition next year. But yeah, it's the risk of the game that we play. It's all very well having these nice shiny draft pick signings to earn a ton of money, but you've got to get really lucky with your free agents, and we've just got rid of all our good ones. So here we go again.
I've just been checking if we've had any Pro Bowlers or All-Pros, and we have not. The one that came to mind you didn't mention was Carlton Davis, but he did not get it either.
No, Carlton was all right as well, but he wasn't the money we invested in him all right. We expected him to be better. And then he goes and gets to a Super Bowl with the Patriots, which is annoying, but yeah, we've just had a rotten. Every team has that one Achilles heel that they can just never seem to land on. Ours is corner.
All right, let's talk about the last main guy on this list, which is defensive back Christian Izien. He signed a 1-year, $2 million deal with $1 million guaranteed. Formerly of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, over the last 3 seasons, he's played 45 games, of which he started 15. He's had 3 interceptions, 5 passes defended, 3 forced fumbles, 165 tackles, 8 TFLs, 2 quarterback hits, PFF grades of 68, 57, and 51. He only played 167 defensive snaps last season. Due to injuries which hung around without knocking him out of games, it kind of caused him to not practice quite often. Other people passed him in the depth chart. They also signed competition for him. People came in like Tyke Smith, who took some of the reps that he was taking. But he is an excellent special teams player, and he comes in on a pretty small contract. The most he played for Tampa was where he started 10 games in 2024. 10 of his 15 starts came in 2024, which was one of his more successful seasons as well. And this is someone who, when we played against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as we have done most of the last few seasons, and when I'm talking about this, I want to thank Danny Mack for subscribing at Tier 1 for his 29th month before I forget. So thank you, Danny. He's someone I always noticed when he was playing for Tampa. And maybe he didn't jump off the chart as someone who was playing exceptionally well, but he always kind of made his presence felt. And this is someone who's a very versatile player. In that 2024 season, he played 16 snaps on the defensive line, 135 in the box, 308 at free safety, 205 in the slot, and 33 at outside corner. The guy kind of was a bit of everywhere, to be honest. So we've kind of got a Swiss Army knife sort of guy who's very gritty, hits very hard, makes his presence felt, good in run defense. Um, Coverage is patchy. Ta-
Rubbish.
Tackling is
Poor.
patchy. But for 1 year, 2 million, when we are letting core special teamers go, like Grant Stewart, who signed a 2 year, $8 million deal or something like that, we've got maybe a core special teamer with kind of upside, especially with our safeties, both starting safeties being injured right now. This is someone who can maybe spot start in that position and not embarrass himself and otherwise kind of has a reason to be there. I'm bullish on this signing without wanting to kind of say he's going to set the world on fire. But I mean, did you notice him when he was playing for the Bucks? Because he certainly stood out to me.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love a good Rutgers DB. He's a Rutgers DB, so they'll always get respect for that. But I think it's just a case of, and he was very versatile in college as well. But I think they've just moved him round and dicked him round a bit too much. He's been here, there, and everywhere, and he's not kind of seemed to settle. And, 80% over his career receptions given up against him. 80. It's really high. Literally 106 of 134. And there's not that much production either in 3 years. Three interceptions, two PBUs. One of them interceptions, and I know people kept showing it, the one he got from Goff. I'm sorry, that's not impressive at all. Goff threw it right at him, like in the middle of nowhere. It wasn't like he broke up a good route and just nicked it and didn't see where it was coming. It was thrown to him. So basically, there's no production there whatsoever as a guy as a pass protector, as fucking in coverage. It's not really there. He's a damn good run defender. Again, 5'10", 200, you've got good frame to you, you're good against the run. He was great against the run in college. It's kind of what he hangs his hat on. And again, he's probably another one of those who's come in to help us plug up the run game more so than anything. But I think at the NFL level, his versatility is it's been a problem. They've just played him here. I don't like it. Our best players are specialists, and just playing guys here, there, he can do a bit of this, he can do a bit of that, but yeah, he can't do it very well. Just give him a position, let him settle to it, so it doesn't feel like he's been able to properly settle in the NFL because they just ask a different thing of him every week. And, I'm against guys doing three, four, five things at once. It's never worked for the Lions under this regime. I don't know what you're going to do with him. I mean, I guess he's safety three for now. Possibly you can put him in at slot corner if you want. He's probably slot two after McCreary, but it is what it is. It's a very cheap deal. It's a guy who's got some reps behind him, but he's also got injury concerns behind him as well, which is the issue. He's had a torn pec, groin issues. He had, what was it last year? A quad injury and a oblique injury. Like he's had a lot of injuries as well. But again, it's like a 1 year vet min deal, so you're gonna have these issues with these guys. So, you know, again, it's very low risk and you see what we can do with him, but I would like to see him get a proper role here. I would like to see him be a safety or a corner or whatever, and they just leave him there and let him do his work. Because I think just putting it here, there, and everywhere is just not really going to be that good for us in the end. We've had too many guys like that. So, yeah, I have hopes for him, but we'll see. It depends what they do in the draft as well. He's another one of those who potentially, well, I say might, he probably will make the roster, but if Ennis shows he's healthy, if we draft another corner pretty high, and then we've already got good special teamers here, could be one of those. But we will see with him. We will see. But yeah, it's what you get when you go the route we're going.
And the final outside free agent is just the return of an old friend. Quarterback 2 is in the building. Teddy Bridgewater is back, and as a firm fan favourite, I think for me, this is an upgrade at quarterback 2 as we let our incumbent walk. He's not going to set the world on fire, but he can come in and throw the ball a little bit. Now, I'm looking to see what happens in pre-season for Teddy and his backup quarterback, so who gives a shit, really? But in terms of a locker room guy, in terms of what he did for Jameson Williams, and what a jump JMO took after Teddy got his hands on him, we've brought a locker room presence, a real dude, back.
Yeah, it's stability. Stability at a very important position for us. You trust him to come in and be able to see out games for us if we need him, etc. You would hope with him here as well that this is the year they finally draft someone. This is the perfect year to have a young rookie in that room who's got a lot of development to do, who's going to be in a room with one of the best and, take advantage of that. And then train his long-term replacement here. But yeah, it's a stable move, a position where instability can break your season. I would trust him to come in and do a job for us if we needed to. So I'm really happy with this. I mean, if they want to bring Kyle Allen back as a 3, whatever, who knows?
He's gone. He's gone somewhere else.
Oh, is he gone?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I don't know if he'll probably be cut again before the year starts. You never know, but I do hope they bring in a rookie with him as well, though, to take advantage of having Teddy here. But yeah, he's as quarterback twos go, he's very good. And yeah, so I'm glad they did it. Surprising, but a nice surprise.
I was very, very surprised, but I just think that as someone who's going to run with the second team, this is going to provide a pros pro and someone who can elevate the second team players into potential first team starters, or getting them in that rotation and properly ready for it, where maybe Kyle Allen isn't quite the same cat.
Mm.
And I think that's the biggest thing I can say. The scout team is suddenly so much better.
Yeah, absolutely.
In terms of who we could draft, let's say late day 3, I'm very interested in who that could possibly be. Because there's a few guys who can do a little bit. Everyone's favourite quarterback guru in Chris Sims has Behren Morton of Texas Tech as his number 3 quarterback in this draft. Well, he apparently on the mock draft database is number 379. So maybe you can bring him in. Or maybe someone like Luke Altmaier, Jalen Daniels, Cade Klubnik, Joey Aguila, who's number 4 on his list, is at 392. There's some other guys in here who are names, even if they're not particularly great. Caden Salter, Mark Gronowski, Miller Moss, Haynes King. Any of those guys, potential guys for you in that late day 3 territory, you'd bring in behind Teddy?
I don't know, there's a few. I mean, Teddy's like Goff. He likes to work in his pocket. So, you're probably going to look. I think the Lions would always prioritize a pocket passer first. First and foremost. If they've got legs, fine, but someone who can stand and deliver in the pocket. So it really depends. I know they really like Haynes King. Haynes King would be a smart one. He's very accurate thrower, very consistent with what he does. Just needs a few little tweaks in his game, which Teddy would do for him. And he's got legs as well, but it's not his first and foremost thing. So I think Haynes King would be the ideal fit, really, out of them all. I prefer Taylor Green because he's got legs. He's very exciting. Obviously, there's a lot of inconsistency issues with him, which again, maybe Teddy can help with, but I think Haynes probably fits the profile for the Lions more. So he'd be the name I'd look out for.
All right, players that the Lions have re-signed back to the team, starting off with Tom Kennedy. In the last year of the veteran salary benefit, he returns on a 1-year, $1.2 million deal. He's only going to count $1.1 million against the cap and potentially is going to get far more cash than that. And Tom Kennedy is the preseason hero that he always is, but this year, when Khalif Raymond was suffering on punt returns, he came in and was everyone's favourite tight ends returner. But more than that, when Amon-Ra was struggling with the injury to his hands, he came in the slot and actually showed some of that preseason form in a regular season game. No one's going to go mad about this signing, but as a depth piece, he actually fucking showed something last year. I don't hate this. I don't. I know it's easy to hate on it because he's been here for the last 50
I'm not
years,
hating on
but You
I,
know,
th- I, th-
like
I th- I think we're blowing up his contribution a little bit. I mean, as a returner, fine. I think as a receiver, he had what, one game against Green Bay, I think it was, and that was it really.
mhm.
So they obviously they like him. He has appeal to the team. It will be interesting because I do think they will draft a returner.
I think so too.
And I think he will be fighting for his job then, because obviously we have the top three guys on the roster right now. It depends what level they put in. If they were to get someone at the back end of day three who's a really good returner but needs a lot of work as a receiver, you'd probably put Tom in the category as a four, and have someone else as a five in there. If they go up a little higher at the start of day three for someone who's got return ability, you would figure that'll switch around and he'll sort of have a look down at the bottom of the depth chart and maybe struggle, but he's going to be around. And no other team after 5 years has been asked enough about him to take him away from us. So I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. So, he's Mr. Reliable. He's going to be there when we need him, as and when we need him, which is fine. And again, it's vet min, so
Hmm.
I don't mind it at all, really.
He's been here 7 seasons.
7 seasons then.
So he played 41 snaps on offense against Green Bay in week 13. He was 4 of 4 for 36 yards. And he also had 3 returns for 81 yards in kicks and 1 for 21 in punts. He then went on to have another 3 and 1 against Dallas. His 3 kick returns against Dallas went for 120 yards at 40 yards a return. And then the punt return went 1 for 21. Then it was fairly low key, but he finished the season with 28 yards per kick return and 17 yards per punt return, which is
He's a good returner.
good.
He took advantage of the return opportunities that were available, so fair play to him. He's hung around and he's forced his way in, which is fair credit to him. But I don't think they'll ever stop trying to improve that. I don't think he has like that nailed down position
Mm.
here. There's a good chance he starts on the practice squad again and we elevate him up, and
Yeah,
that's
I
fine.
agree. DC Smithers has just asked a point on him, but not about him, which is why this. What is Dominic Lovett for? And I think this is a really interesting question because a lot of people have pointed at Dominic Lovett and saying he's going to be in the mix for the return gig as the kind of last wide receiver on the roster. And to all of those people, I say, why? The guy has had 1 return in his career. He's a gunner, and he's a good gunner. Like, he's a reasonable gunner. But why are people suddenly imagining that this guy can do kick and punt returning? Like, I do not see where any of that has come from. Now, will Lovett have to try in order to keep his roster spot? I think yes. They're definitely going to have to try out for it. But why is going to be any better than either a specialist returner that we draft or Kennedy, who proved he can do it last season? I don't know where this has come from.
No, and I'm with you. Like a lot of people say, well, why did we draft him? He's picked 246. I mean, come on, let's be real. Like at that point, you're throwing darts at a board. I don't think there was a specific plan in mind when it comes to the late day thrift, but he's got some aspects we like. We'll see what we can do with it. But for the most part, Lions' seventh round picks have just faded off the roster, and nothing's really come of them. Um, and it's the same with Lovett. Like you said, he's got no return skills whatsoever. I wouldn't trust him over Kennedy as a returner. Like, if you gave me the choice between the two of them now, I'd rather Kennedy on the roster than Lovett, despite the fact Lovett is a lot younger. And again, the whole point of having Lovett here last year was we needed depth in the receiver room at the time because Tesla was an unknown product as well as a rookie. You just got your 2,000-yard receivers in, but in terms of the low depth spots, we needed those guys, and he couldn't even work his way into that rotation last year, which, kind of says everything you need to know. But he's 246. At that point, you take a swipe because there's something you like, and a lot of times it just doesn't work. And, he'll get his opportunity to make the depth of the roster again this year, but I don't think it's as a returner. I would rather us just go and get another specialist from college, someone who knows what they're doing. Lovett will fight for his place this year. If he doesn't make it this year, he'll probably be off the roster. I think it was what Chase Lucas did. Like Chase fought around and scrapped around the team for the first year, and then second year, bang, gone. See ya. Because I think they fancied Chase, like Chase did some return work as well in his career, and some special teams bits and whatnot, and he actually made an impact on the first team as well. But yeah, he's just here to fight for an outside chance of making a roster spot. That's all that is. And if he doesn't work, it doesn't really cost as much, does it?
No. All right. Other people we've re-signed. Well, kicker Jake Bates was finally given his ERFA tender, pays him about 850, 900 grand. And I think there were a lot of people who didn't want Jake Bates to come back. He maybe didn't have his best season last year. I think sometimes the way the Lions play in terms of being risky on fourth down, sometimes going for it in interesting situations, didn't put him in the best spot. I do think there's some things in his game he's worked out. You know, he's no longer slicing his extra points, which is a good thing. But he was always kind of a good long-range kicker, and that kind of left him a little bit last year. I still really wanted him to come back because I believe in him as a long-term piece for like the next 10 years. But if you look in isolation at what happened last year, it's not hard to see why for some people they didn't want him to come back. For me, I get it. What do you think about him coming back, especially for that sort of money?
I mean, I think it's fantastic value. You know, he's a good long range kicker. He's usually quite solid, and he's working vet min on the league. And I kind of like how the contract situation works here because he's like a lot of guys. He had his NFL sophomore slump. Obviously, he was on a massive high, all the stuff he did with the Panthers, all the rave reviews he was getting. Then he came to the Lions and started off like a house on fire. And you know, you kind of hype yourself up and you build and you build and you build and that momentum goes with it. And but then inevitably in the life of every single kicker in NFL history, you have a down year or you have a down period and you know the questions are asked and the good ones are the ones who can bounce back from it. Last year he had the first questions asked about him. I still thought he was pretty good overall. I didn't really have any issues about bringing him back this year. Certainly for me it wasn't a question at all. Um, so for me, this is year three. This is where it matters for me this year. Like I said, we've got incredibly good value for him. Can you be consistently good this year? And build on that. If he has the same sort of issues this year, where the consistency's a bit funny and you know there's a couple of questionable decisions, whatever, then next year you start having this real conversation about, you know, is he the guy of the future? But I think for now, you know, I've got no issues with him whatsoever. It's just he does what every kicker does and he goes through a little bit of a hard time. But I still think he's great. The long distance stuff is very valuable to us. He still kicks clutch game winners. So yeah, I'm glad he's back. I love the deal is on. I think he'd probably have earned more if he hit a free agent market. But yeah, hopefully this is a big year three for him and we see the consistency return and we'll be fine. And we'll probably give him a bigger, longer term contract next year.
All right, two linebackers have also come back. The first one, a fan favourite, but not just a fan favourite, but maybe you are the leader of the fan club when it comes to the Detroit Cowboy, Malcolm Rodriguez. And at the moment, Ant, with no linebackers otherwise in a starting role potentially currently signed, you're either looking at Taylor Decker. Oh, Taylor. Oh my God. Oh my God. Please
Try that again.
Save me.
Try that again.
Derek Barnes or Malcolm Rodriguez is your potential starting will linebacker right now. So, either is going to be a high-end linebacker 4 for us, linebacker 3 for us, or he might be in this mix. And when he has been called on to play, sometimes his shortcomings have been highlighted by teams who really know what they're doing. But as an all-round player who can do all 3 spots to a reasonable standard, this is a guy we needed to bring back.
Oh God, yeah. He represents the epitome of what this whole thing is about. In that, you know, he is the underdog. You know, the 6th round pick who no one expected anything of him, and he made the roster. Not only did he make the roster, he was a starter on there. And he had, you know, that rookie year was a really good year. And I'm always, you know, always go back to that second year. And I was disappointed with how the team dealt with him in terms of dropping his snaps all the way down. But I remember the playoff run. When he came in the playoff run, he was very impressive. Made a lot of big plays for us that Tampa game. He was absolutely tremendous when we needed him. Um, And then last year he was just getting back to his usual self, and then sorry, third year he was just getting back to his usual self. He was looking really good. Then that tear, the ACL tear, just comes at the worst possible time for him, just when he's starting to get that momentum back. And then you could see at the end of last year, it was like a Liam. He just wasn't ready to play. He barely saw any snaps anyhow, but injuries ruled out here. But for me, he's shown more than enough that he can be a high rotational linebacker for us. He's a great run defender. We were seeing the best of him actually as a blitzer. They were starting to use him a little bit more as, which he's not done before. But um, I still think he has a lot to offer this team. And if you don't get a linebacker in the draft high, or you get a coverage linebacker, he's going to be great depth for you. And they need to work him back into the team this year and give him a substantial role on this team because he's earned it. I'm glad he's got another year here so that he can earn himself a better contract. I hope it is a contract with us. Because if you think you're paying your linebackers too much this time, next year you can let Barnes go. I know they're not the same, but you can let Barnes go and you can pay Malcolm a bit more and reset from that position. Oh, hell, depending on who they draft this year. There's talks they might look at drafting another outside linebacker this year who could replace Barnes in the long term. So I love his back. He's one of my favorite players. And I think the team they need to give him more. And hopefully now full off season. He's had half a season, full off season to get ready. That knee will be good to go. There'll be no issues, and he'll prove everyone wrong again.
The last player that's been re-signed is another linebacker. This one a bit more of a depth guy, but he played in 16 games last year. 15 games? 15 games last year, can't count. And that's the linebacker Trevor Nowaski. Trevor had a sack, 22 tackles, 2 TFLs, 2 quarterback hits, a fumble recovery last year, as well as 330 snaps on special teams. So, and given that we like to play a lot of linebackers on special teams, given the fact that he kind of has 3 linebacker versatility, he can play Mike, Will, and Sam. That sack against Baltimore still lives long in the memory for me for Trevor as a kind of welcome to the NFL moment for him for all the right reasons. He was always going to be a raw guy out of Saginaw Valley State, but he's come on, and we didn't have many bodies in that linebacker room, but given how many reps, I didn't realise how many reps he played on special teams, about 20 every single game, as well as, he has a tackle in every single game he played bar 2. He put himself about a bit, and from a very low set of expectations for his NFL career, this is an underrated signing, I think.
He's played a good number of snaps to the first team defense as well. So what Nowaski and Rodrigo give you as a floor in your linebacker room is very high. If you have 3 starting linebackers and then you have Rodrigo and Nowaski backing them up, your linebacker room is incredibly healthy. Both have very good not starting, they have very good first team reps for us. They're both a little different in what they do, but yeah, he's really good depth. I'm glad he's back. He's back cheap as well, which also helps. So yeah, I'm happy he's back. I'm happy him and Rodrigo are back. That's great depth for our room at linebacker, which we badly needed. If we'd lost those 2, we'd have been in some bother.
Here's the one for you. Contrapastan has just said, I feel like Trevor last year played better than Barnes at least a third of the time.
I don't think Nowaski played that. I know he played a load the year before, but I don't think he played as much last year.
Yeah, 80 snaps on defense or so, but he's just saying whenever he saw him on the field that it was pretty close.
You notice him. Notice him when he's out there. Like I said, he gets a lot of tackles and he's always first into it. So Derek was just very disappointing last year. Derek needs to have a big year. Given that the vast majority of his career has been underwhelming. Although I love him, and when he's on his form and what he is, but he's been bad more than he's been good in his career. So he needs to have a massive bounce back year.
Yeah, he does. I think the people who are calling for his head are premature. He's on the cap for $9.7 million. But
I don't think his contract's that bad. The contract's manageable and
9.7 million against the cap for him?
Yeah,
that's a lot.
It is, but for what he can be, I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know whether the scheme has high because it didn't feel like we used him much. Like
No, we
he's a
didn't put him in the
blitz.
right situations.
He's a blitzer, and he is there to get like we bottom three in tackles for loss in the league. That's what he's there for. He's there to get in the backfield, use his speed. It's what he was good at Purdue with. Blitz him. He's a fantastic blitzing linebacker. That's why you play him on the edge to get those plays in the backfield, and it felt like we didn't do it with him. He's another who's fallen curse to this versatility that the Lions love to use. They just move him here, there, and everywhere, and ask him to do this, that, and the other instead of letting him do what he was born to do. I feel like we've held him back a little bit, and the scheme's just not been very nice for him. Like you got to pay him all that money, let him go out there and make the splash plays. I know they rock hard about doing all these other bits and that for them, but at the end of the day, it's a system that hasn't worked. It's the same with the edges. Let the edges be edges, and don't can do all the stupid stuff that you do with them. Same with Barnes.
Hmm. All right, one release to talk about. We found out, mercifully, that he was coming back this season after his contract told. The Lions did not let him even get to camp. It's the end of the time for former second round pick Josh Pascal. And Josh came in as a kind of consensus overdrafted player that I think everyone had hope for and potentially showed flashes of his ability as a Lion, but ultimately injury throughout his career, not serious injury, but constant nagging injuries that kept him from practicing, kept him from being as explosive as we saw he could be in college at, I want to say, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Um, really put pay to his Lions career. And I think it's telling that even this team that has such a reputation for liking injured players said that's enough in fucking March.
Even I was shocked when they did it. You feel like after the investment they've made in him, that you would at least give it a little bit of time to work out. But they didn't. But again, I would be a hypocrite if I'd said, it was the right decision to make. At the end of the day, some of these more injured players, we have to take a harsh line on. He's been hurt. Not having him in the team has been a pain because he's been designated to be edge three. Hell, he should have been edge two. Putting a second round pick on him, he's meant to have been the bookend for Aiden his entire career, and it's just never materialized. And again, I never liked the pick. I hate tweeners, and this is the problem with tweeners. He wasn't a fully adapted edge rusher when he came out of college. He played a lot on the interior as well. And there was a lot to work with. I know they love him because of the run defense stuff, but we've done a lot of playing him at the tackle and inside. And when you're taking guys who've, they're tweeners in college and you're not kind of letting them settle in the NFL as well, it's just not worked. The inconsistency's been there. Every time he's made a bit of a breakthrough, like you said, he's gotten hurt. And it's a shame. I want to see these guys succeed. I don't want to release them. You want to see them do well. But at the end of the day, the edge room needed dynamiting. We've said that. Like, we just got to start from scratch. Davenport, Pascal, all these guys, they've just not been available. They've not been healthy. They've not been reliable as starters. We've got to start from the bottom up and work to get Aiden a healthy rotation with him, so we don't have to play him 1,000 snaps a season. And so they've done the right thing here. It's all about how they build that room up now, though, because they've done nothing in free agency so far, and we're not going to solve this room just through the draft. Because Ahmed Hassanin is not ready to be depth on this team yet, because he's not even played in the NFL yet. So it's unfair to ask him to be what we would call quality depth on the team. I just want him to be a rookie who can work his way into the team and figure the NFL out and then become part of it. You've got to get two or three guys into this edge room now because he's not it. Lacey ain't it. So yeah, it was a necessary move, but it's always sad. Like I say, you don't ever want to see a player not work. But yeah, the decision was correct.
Right, let's talk about the Lions' remaining needs. I am going to, if I load it up, that would be Excellent. I'm going to go through the Lions depth chart, and I just want to make sure, because I've tarted down who I think is still a need, but I want you to tell me what you think as well so we can be on the same page as this. So let's go through the depth chart and see what we think our needs are. Quarterback, we have Goff and Bridgewater. Stop me when you think there's a need. Running back,
we need a quarterback 3.
All right.
We need I drafting or getting a UDFA on a quarterback 3. That's just, because Teddy's going to be a 1-year guy, so I want us to take a swing this year. Keep taking swings.
Running back, Gibbs, Pacheco, Sailors, Vaki, Small, and Robichaux. If Robichaux's on the roster, I believe that's still an open question.
We need a new running back 3. And again, I'd be drafting a guy, because again, Pacheco's going to be a 1-year option. So we need some young depth at running back, because Gibbs is about to get paid, 20-odd million a year. We're not going to pay Pacheco even if he does well, so we've got to have that good rookie contract adjusted thing at running back 3. So we need one of those, but that's coming from the draft again.
Fair. I'm still going to list down the draft ones, even if I'm looking at free agency for now.
Yeah.
Okay, wide receivers: Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Isaac Teslar, Jackson Meeks, Tom Kennedy, Dominic Lovett, Malik Cunningham.
Yeah, I would like to see at least 2 new ones in. I would like to see another free agent bought in, preferably a veteran. Someone who's just a bit older, a bit slyer, who's just going to give us some good quality reps as and when we need it. And then I'd be drafting a big-bodied outside receiver still, even though Tesla's that guy. I want to get a proper X in the mix. But I think we need 2 more at least, and then you kind of let Lovett, Kennedy, Meeks, all that fight out for the remaining rotation. So
would you rather draft a big X-style guy or a specialized returner? Because they generally come from the wide receiver room. Sometimes there'll be a cornerback, but most of the time the returners are wide receivers.
See, I'd be putting emphasis on receiver, not returner, because we've got Kennedy and Sawyers and Sailors. So cool. we can make a room out of that. So I would rather have a receiver first, big guy, brought into the room, just to give us a bit of added flavor to it. But I still do think we need a veteran receiver in the room as well. I know our guys are vets and that, but you just want that. We've always had that steady sort of, like Raymond, steady hand, veteran wide receiver. Call on him if you need him. If one of the other guys is down or whatnot. So for me, the receiver room still has a decent bit of work to be done on it.
Tight ends: Sam Laporta, Brock Wright, Tyler Conklin, Zach Horton, Thomas Gordon.
I'm open to all positions apart from Sam being upgradable at this point. So
yeah,
I would still scour the free agent market. Obviously when roster cut downs happen as well, I'd still be scouring. And again, I would draft somebody because Sam's going to go on a big contract again, and we've got no young talent in the tight end room now. Like young ascender, like Horton's a fullback. I don't think, he does a little bit of everything. But
he's not fooling anyone, really.
No, I would like to get a tight end 3 in there, preferably a blocker. This is probably where Sam Rao should be really in handy, because he is a blocker. He's 260, a bit different to what they have there. And then hopefully after a year of sort of bedding himself in this team, he's ready to take over from Conklin or whoever it is at that tight end 2 spot next year. So you start your plans now.
Yeah, I got a draftable guy, tight end 3/4. Is what I'm looking at there.
Yeah.
In terms of the other ones you've listed, I didn't necessarily have any of them down, only because I was looking at free agent guys. Wide receiver, I wasn't really looking at anyone free agency, but I'll definitely have a look at that. Let's go to offensive line, where we have, and I'm just going to list out all the guys at all positions: Manu, Mahogany, Mays, Ratledge, Sewell, Borom, Frazier, Neese, Scruggs, Sorsdal, McLaughlin, Miller, Cochran.
I'm happy at guard.
Me too.
Center, I would probably say.
I think for me, between Mays, Scruggs, and McLaughlin, I think you could upgrade in the draft, but I'm not worrying about it.
I would take a solid day. Like, if another Tanner Bortolini falls or something like that into day 3, then I would be certainly interested
The guys
in
there aren't
adding a
stopping me
rookie.
drafting someone, but equally, if there's any other
Yeah,
need available at
it's
that
it's
spot,
if
I'm probably
value's
looking
there.
at. Yeah,
I think it's
exactly.
more if the value's there. I can take not getting one if the value's not there, because Ratledge can maybe move or Frazier can do, but who knows? But with Mays there, I'm fine. But I would like, if so, my ideal world would be to get a specialized center in behind Mays, one who's going to take his time to develop, but is there if we need him. Like having another Aguakan on the team, just someone who I can trust a little bit to do that.
Fair. All right. For
And then
me,
tackle, we need
yeah,
to draft one, obviously. I think
yeah.
it goes without saying.
Either
Borum's fine depth.
either
Borum and
left or
Manu
right
as depth,
tackle.
yeah. I
Left
think
or right tackle. Yeah.
Borum and Manu as depth is fine. Again, every draft pick gets 3 years, even if I think Manu's a complete bust. Every draft pick gets 3 years, so give it him. But as long as we get a starter out the draft, that's all I ask for.
Just had a comment in the chat saying, "Did you ever play football?" You're talking young guys here. I mean, I think a lot of people didn't play football, and it does mean we can still use our eyes, though. So I'm just gonna say it doesn't stop us from commenting on things. Let's move on to the defensive side of the ball. And we'll start with the defensive line and the interior of that defensive line, where we have Aleem McNeil, Tyleek Williams, Levi Onwuzurike, Chris Smith, and Mackay Wingo. Are you in the market for a DT?
Yeah. I mean, the only thing is I'm not sure what I'd do here. I think my part will be pushing towards a free agent, hoping that Wingo can come good this year, because Wingo will be the rookie in the room then, who you're bringing through. And if as long as Levi's down the depth chart, I don't mind. Obviously, we want Levi to come good, but we need to put him in a position on the depth chart where he's not too high up, so that if he does get hurt, it doesn't affect us. I think I would like to bring a free agent in, one who's not good enough to take Tyleek out the start. Like Tyleek and Aleem should start this year. You're trying to find the guys behind that. Maybe find yourself another nose, um, and do it that way, and then have Wingo as your four. I'm not sure on Wingo. I'm not sold on him, but it benefits this team for Wingo to be given the shot and for Wingo to be good this year. Um, so yeah, I think I'd rather take a free agent. But if we were to go the draft route, I would be trying to find a pass rushing D tackle. Like we need more pressure from the interior. We really do. Tyleek has been drafted to be the run defense specialist for the next 10 years. Let him be it. Let's get someone else who can rush the passer a bit more than the others can.
So, in terms of the names we've said, Chris Smith is someone who's probably always going to be a practice squatter who gets elevated. That is who he is. Mackay Wingo,
He's defensive Tom Kennedy.
yes. Mackay Wingo is someone who I would be surprised if he makes the roster.
That is my gut feeling, but I hope he.
I have
proves it
hope
wrong.
too. But if I'm saying realistically, where do I want to make upgrades because of where I see things? For me, Wingo isn't even on it. He's a bubble guy with no competition. And then Levi Onwuzurike, I have hope because he has shown me it once. One season, he was incredible. But is anyone actually relying on that happening this year? I think the sensible answer is no. That's all the depth I just listed. Those are the three backups, and then you have McNeil and Williams. Ideally, you need a pass rushing DT and you need a nose, wherever they come from. And I think I would tend to split the difference and try and say, draft one, sign a free agent, and then you have Levi as your 5, which is a far more equitable situation.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. So I should say when we go through all of this list, we're then going to actually have a look at who's available and see if there's anyone that we like. Defensive ends, at the moment, we have starters Aiden Hutchinson. I've not glitched out, that's just it. Tyler Lacey apparently is the second guy, and then Ahmed Hassanin behind them. And that's the list. That's all the list. Like, I'm sorry, but Lacey is just about depth, maybe, but ideally, in a Super Bowl winning team, he might be your 5, maybe a 6. Hassanin, in an ideal world, would be a practice squad player. He wouldn't even be on the roster in an ideal world. I have hope for Hassanin. I really believe in his story. I really believe in what he could do for us. But I would want another 4 guys, maybe? So it's not just we need another starter, but we need the starters, we need the rotation, and we need the depth after that rotation. So I'm looking at 3 edges at least.
Yeah, I'm looking for veteran to be edge 2. I'm looking for another veteran to be a good depth piece, and then I'm looking for a high round draft pick because again, Aiden's on max contract now. We've got no youngsters coming through the ranks outside of Hassanin, and we don't know what we're going to get with him yet. He's not a commodity that you can invest fully in right now. We need a high draft pick in there. But we need 2 veterans as well, but one who's good enough to start. I mean, ideally with an edge, because odds are the tackle's going to be at 17. If it's going to be an edge at 50 is going to need a little bit of time to bed in the team, so you want a veteran to come in. I really want Jadeveon Clowney here. Really, really, really want Jadeveon. Like, he's my #1 target here. If I could only sign one more player in free agency this offseason, Clowney would be it. He is exactly what this team needs. 1-year deal, great against the run, high impact player to start, and then I can work my edges in behind him, and I can bring them into the rotation and start something positive off with him. That's what I want to do. Because again, with Hassanin, I want to let the kid be. I want to let him be a rookie. I'm not trying to be negative because a lot of people will say, "Oh, Hassanin's going to break out. He's going to be a massive star. He's going to prove everyone." And it's like, okay, that's fine, but you putting that out there into the atmosphere, saying it again and again and again, and then all the people who listen to you keep hearing this again and again and again, and they keep hearing, "Oh, Hassanin's going to be great. He's going to be great. He's going to be great," and we just keep hearing this. If he has an average start to next year and just works his way in a little bit and does, which he should be, people are going to be like, "Huh, I've been told he's going to be great all summer, and all of a sudden he's just been like a rotational 6th round guy who's not played yet." I just want to keep the expectations real for him. He's a development player who is going to take 2 or 3 years, who would have taken 2 or 3 years to come good in the first place, let alone now he's missed a whole year of football and he's starting from even further behind the point. He's going to take even longer. I think he can. I just don't want to put the expectation on him. I'd rather he be depth in a deep room where we don't have to put too much on his plate to start with. Because again, he's got the attitude, he's got the work ethic, and I think he could become a great edge over time. But you've got to give him the room to develop and not put it all on his plate. Ahmed Hassanin cannot be in your top 3 edge rushers when you're going for a Super Bowl. It's not been a bit nasty to him, that has been realistic.
We'd
I
be
don't
doing
want him
him
to
a
be in that
favour by
position.
bringing him in favourable situations as the last guy in the rotation.
Exactly.
Where he's a designated pass rusher, go and get the quarterback, and we just start
Exactly.
there.
And it's the same with all these guys. Like when people were bigging Wingo up massively, going, "Oh, he's just a steal on day 3, and he's going to be all this," and it's like, well, it's not happened. He was getting healthy scratched all of last year when we were struggling for D tackles, and then people are like, "Oh well, I told Wingo was going to be this awesome dude who's going to, just be an all pro," and it's like, again, not fair to him. Miles Frazier. Everyone's like, "Oh, he can play center, he can play tackle, he can play guard, he's going to be amazing." It's like, nothing has been shown he can do that so far. Like, I just don't like to gas these guys up to the moon. I like them to be able to be rookies. Let them be rookies, let them develop, and then we'll see what they become. Same with Rakestraw next year. People are already saying, "Oh, Rakestraw, it's his breakout year," and that. Let the man play some football first. Let's not forget most improved player or whatever like this. Let's just let him play a few snaps and see if he's capable of it first. And then we'll see in the long run. Some people take that as me being negative when I say these things about players. I'm not being negative. I'm just trying to keep the realism in the building.
Well, never mind realism. We're trying to get those players to succeed.
Yeah, exactly.
We are picking the best route for them.
Exactly. Some guys do it, and people say, "Oh well, Rodrigo did it in his first year," but Rodrigo's special talent, and Rodrigo was specialist in college. Like you could tell with him, and he dropped for reasons that were unbeknown.
I hope we have another Rodrigo at linebacker this year. Just saying.
No, we've got Rodrigo. We don't need another Rodrigo. We've got
No,
Rodrigo.
no, no. But I'm saying I want Jacob Rodriguez.
Oh, well, good luck. You'd have to pay 50, and good luck taking a linebacker with your top two picks, and then explaining to people why you've neglected edge even further.
Yeah, I know. Well, maybe take edge and linebacker and go, Larry, you're a starter.
You sell that to people.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
Well.
I don't think it would be a good thing. Anyway, I'm not actually doing that. That was a joke. We haven't finished off the roster. I'm going to move on with the linebacker room, which at the moment is Jack Campbell, Derek Barnes, Malcolm Rodriguez, and Trevor Nowaski. We normally run with 7 deep, so there's at least 3 names missing off of this. But maybe linebacker 3 is entirely missing?
We need a coverage linebacker. Pure and simple. We need a linebacker who can cover people. It's not Jack's modus operandi. I know Jack does everything for this team, but we can't put everything on his plate. And it's not Barnes's either. Barnes is a pass rusher. Barnes is a blitzer. He's a negative play guy, not a coverage guy. And it's not Rodrigo's forte either. Rodrigo is here to stop the run and to be a physical presence. And he's also got some blitzing ability to him. We do not have a coverage linebacker, and we've been screaming for this for years. Back to the drafts of Diane Henley and guys like that. Let's get someone who can cover as part of their resume. So that has to be the priority in the draft, is to get a guy who can do coverage here. You have good depth in place with Rodrigo, and you have good depth in place with Nowaski. You have to get someone who can start at that coverage linebacker spot, or at least come in on passing downs and give you that opportunity. But it probably feels like there's room in there for another veteran as well. Like Cunningham or someone like that, just to sit at bottom of the depth chart who can do a little bit for you if you need to. So I'd be looking for veteran to occupy bottom spot and draft pick coverage linebacker.
Yeah, so I have linebackers 3, 5, and 6, which you best look at from free agency and draft. Cornerbacks, outside corners, Arnold, Reed, Rock, Dorsey, and Whiteside. Nichols, McCreary, and Rakestraw is a bit of both.
I don't know what to think of corner. It feels like they could go in like DJ Reed's not playing up to his contract so far. Terrian, we still don't. The big question mark is we don't know what's going on with Terrian in the criminal case yet, which could drastically alter what we're gonna do. But you feel with Rock in there, with guys who can cover, like Izien can play at corner as well, although he'll go in the safety room probably. I like our depth. The Legion of whom showed they could do a really good job for us last year. But it's like, I don't want to spend another pick on a starting corner. Again, I've been vocal for wanting a taller corner. I think we lack height in our corner room. I would like to get an outside corner who has a bit of height to him, who's maybe also a little bit like in the style of what in the style of what McCreary is, except an actual outside corner. Someone who I know loves playing press man, loves getting the hands on people, and he's got a bit of height to him as well. Because we need someone who's durable. So I would draft a corner with one of the. I probably would. I would look to with 118, 128, someone who might be a good enough contributor to do some good reps in their first year, as long as they're a bit taller. So, yeah, I do think we need to add a corner to. Just something's nagging me. I feel like not getting a corner now, like next year, the situation could be so volatile in our corner room. Like, we'll be 2 years into Reed's deal, so we can probably get an off on that if need be, if it doesn't work. Terrion, who knows? All the 1 year guys will go. Could be Rakestraw's last year, depending on the injuries. I don't like the long-term sustainability of our corner room. I think that's my overall thing. And if Rock has another good year, we might not be able to pay him either.
I think I would consider drafting a cornerback late. But with all of the other issues that we're listing and all of the other potential draft picks that we want, we've said QB3, RB3, wide receiver 1 or 4 or 5, tight end 3 or 4, one of the defensive ends, if not two, a linebacker. We're running out of draft picks. So, like, I think.
I know. This is just, yeah, but we're doing theoreticals for
Oh,
each
no,
position.
but I guess what I'm saying is I'm considering it, but it's low on my list of priorities given that the room is just kind of filled out right now. I agree, if you don't take one, it kind of puts you behind the eight ball in future years, but you are always against the eight ball somewhere when you go into an off season. I think I'd rather pick corners given the investment we've made in it, in the hope that they just work, because I've got nothing left.
Well, that's it, and that's why I'm a bit uncertain because you're always looking for positions. Have you got the youth movement coming through? Like last year, now we've been able to let Reader leave because Tyleek's coming through. You had the youth movement in there, and you've been able to replace him. Where's our youth movement in our corner room at the minute? And I just consider Terry on a starter. He is what he is, but who else is emerging to the forefront there? We're relying on Ennis playing football after not for 3 years. Who else is in there? Like we just, McCreary's likely going to be a 1 year guy. Rock Sin, we're not going to keep with forever because he's getting on. Whiteside, who knows? Dorsey is a glorified special teamer. We need to be bringing some more corner depth up through the ranks. So I just think we need to invest in more of a surefire one than trying to like penny pinch at the end and just hope we get someone who lands and that. That's just me. I'm a bit nervous about the long-term future of it, given how long it takes to train corners. I don't want to get to next year, like if this is a retool year or whatever, and we don't get there to the championship game this year. I don't want to go into next year having a barren corner room and us not being able to invest high in free agents because it's not what we can do, and then having to draft a load of corners again and hope they hit in year one.
Yeah.
That's my long-term concern with it. Obviously, it could go right. DJ Reed could have a wonderful year. Terrian could have a wonderful year. All of a sudden it's fine. But I think we've got to cover ourselves because I don't think all those things are going to happen.
I agree. Finally, the safeties, because I'm not going to look at specialists because we don't need any. Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph, Thomas Harper, Christian Izien, Dan Jackson, Lawrence Strickland.
I'm investing in a starter in the draft. I know people hate it, but you can't rely on Brian and Kirby to be healthy in the long term, especially Kirby. I think you've got to start putting, again, this is all forefront, it's hindsight, but you can't just see you can't see the incoming situation and be like, okay, we're not going to do anything about it. I mean, with respect to the guys behind it, Izien is a 1 year guy who knows what we're going to go. Thomas Harper might be that guy. Like he did well. I keep Harper in there. Outside of that, outside of those four, I am looking for a safety 5. Not Maddox, not Strickland, not anyone like that. Someone who's got starting upside for the future. Should one of our 2 starters not make it next year? Now they both might. But it's not going to harm us to put another safety in that room. And who knows, Harper might not be what he was this year. I would hope he was. If you've got Harper in that room and you've got a rookie in that room and you've got Kirby and Brian, your safety room is in a good position for years to come. But you've got to be prepared because we can't afford retool years. So I'm investing highly in there. I'm assuming Izien as my veteran this year. I did say I wanted a veteran in the room, like a proper one, but Izien's here. He's going to do what he's doing. I'm counting him as the veteran, and I'm not bringing another veteran in.
So you're saying draft. not free agent.
I'm saying I draft. We need a new long-term save. And plus, again, if it all works out even, Brian's going to get paid this year, so we're going to have 2 expensive safeties on the roster. So having the rookie deals negates that.
Yeah,
and if you need to get out of one in the long run, fine. But my ideal world is that Harper takes another step forward and I've got a young rookie in there and that's my main 4. And Izien is, there to help.
Right, so we've got our list of needs. QB3 in the draft or UDFA, same for RB3. Same for a safety, whether that is for US 1, 2, or 3. For me, it's S3 because they come in after Kirby and Branch, but that's nominally because they're going to be a starter. A cornerback of some kind in the draft, and then the free agent, or the tight end 3 or 4 in the draft, and then the free agency ones we've got wide receiver 4 or 5, tackle 2, defensive ends 2, 3, 4, some combination of free agency and draft. DT 3 and 4, some combination of free agency and draft. Linebacker 3, 5, 6, some combination of free agency and draft. So of those we've listed as free agents, let's go down a list of potential guys that are still available out there and see if anyone piques our interest. And we'll start off with the wide receivers. Christian Kirk now off the board, of course. Let me list out some guys, and if anyone piques your interest, I'll tell you what SpotTrack think their projected AAV is going to be, and you can say yes or no. Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Deebo Samuel, Curtis Samuel, Marquise Brown, Jawan Jennings, DeAndre Hopkins, Greg Dortch, Noah Brown, Keenan Allen, Nick Westbrook, Jahan Dotson, Cardarrelle Hodge, Josh Reynolds, Tim Patrick, Zay Jones, Hunter Renfrow, Tyler Wallace, Braxton Berrios, Sterling Shepard, Sky Moore, I'm pretty sure is gone, Juju Smith-Schuster, DeAndre Carter, Scotty Miller, Dwayne Eskridge. I'm now going into the very doldrums. Let's see if there's anyone else of note down here. Trent Taylor, Gabe Davis, Bryce Ford Wheaton, Malik Heath. Anyone?
I'd like someone like, I don't know. I think Scotty Miller would be fun. He's had, because again, you're wanting someone who's going to be a receiver 4, so you can't put someone like Tyreek Hill in there. 'Cause you don't want to take snaps away from Tesla next year, so you need someone who can work good in a depth rotation and do what he needs to. I know he's been stuck on that shitty Pittsburgh team for the last couple of years. But like someone like him, he brings a good amount of experience. Like he's a slot guy as well. You need another slot for when Amon-Ra can't go with it. I would like to think he'd be a decent option for us. Like that'd be in that area, and you've also got to take money into account. Like you're gonna get someone who potentially is gonna be that good, but so cheap. You know, you list a lot of the others out, and like Smith-Schuster, guys like that, it's just, I don't know if they're what you need. I
My
think they're,
my number one guy on that board is DeAndre Hopkins. I don't care that he isn't what he was. If you want a short-term guy to be a reliable pair of hands rotating with Tesla, it's DeAndre Hopkins.
yeah.
His AAV projected is $1.5 million.
And to be honest, we should be at the point now where we can attract these guys for ring chasing. That was the whole point of doing this. You want to be a consistently successful team in the playoffs so that you can convince guys to come ring chase. We've not been able to do that thus far. Whether they don't like, but they don't like the veterans either. Like, I don't think they like high-profile veterans, the Lions. They're not. It's not their cup of tea.
Now, they always sign one guy for about 8 million or more, but they've got Cade Mays, so that might be it.
Yeah, I don't know how much they're going to but I just think it's the big name aspect of it as well, which is a bit funny. I mean, could it depends on what he's earned, but didn't the Bills cut Curtis Samuel?
Yeah, they did.
Like Curtis Samuel would be like
Cheap as chips, 2 million.
and he's been around the league for years. He's one of those guys who's consistently going to get you sort of 4, 5, 6 touchdowns a year, and he'll get you like 4, 5, 600 yards, something like that. You know, just someone who can plug and play as and when you need him. And if one of your top 3 guys drops out, you feel quite comfy. Him coming in, taking a little bit of the slack, and also helping to develop younger guys as well. Having a big veteran name in the room, like he'd be good. I just wonder what his money'd be. But you hope you might be able to appeal to him and just say, look, you're going to be on a playoff team this year. Come here, get some good reps, and a lot of our guys who come here as free agents go away and get paid elsewhere, even when they're older. So he could potentially make another contract out of himself for this.
Right, let's do edge players. We're in need of several between the draft and free agency. Here is your list. Hassan Reddick, Joey Bosa, Leonard Floyd, Danico Autry, Ito Gross-Matos, Michael Dana, Billy L. Nichols, DJ Wanham, Von Miller, Cameron Jordan, AJ Epineza, Dante Fowler, Tyquan Lewis. No matter how Spot Track want me to say this next name, I'm not putting him in this list. Jelani Tavai is not an edge. Joe Tryon Shoyenka, Kyle Van Noy, Anthony Jennings, Derek Barnett, Jadeveon Clowney, Emmanuel Ogba, Marcus Davenport, Peyton Turner, Josh Pascal, Dwayne Smoot. I'm now going to skip over a few names. Cam Sample, Cleveland Farrell, Nick Hampton. There's not a lot else there. Any names jumping out for you? We've already mentioned the guy that we both want in Jadeveon Clowney. So apart from that, anyone else in that list? Because we might need 2 free agents.
Yeah, obviously Clown is the be all and end all. It's got to be him. I'm not enthused whatsoever about getting Cam Jordan here. Because I just know as soon as he leaves New Orleans, he's just going to revert to being a 37-year-old who can do what he does. I mean, outside of that, you're looking for someone who can just be a solid rotational guy who can, get the work done for you. Who would have solid production over their career? I mean, I guess if you've got Clowney and you don't want someone in his ilk, you want someone who's a little younger. I know that a lot of the guys are obsessed with that first round bust from
Buffalo.
New Orleans.
Oh, no. Oh,
Peyton.
Peyton Turner.
Peyton Turner.
Maybe Dallas in this most recent season.
Yeah, but he busted out big time. Like, that was one of the worst picks I've ever seen in the first round.
Went
there.
31, I think.
Yeah, maybe if you got Jadeveon Clowney, you took on a reclamation project like Peyton Turner and hope maybe you can get something out of him here, and then you invest heavy in an edge in the draft, then all of a sudden your room becomes very dangerous. Then you can put Hassanin in behind that, and I would feel good Hassanin been in that room. Hassanin with the ideal situation where he kicks Peyton Turner out of the team by the end of the year. But yeah, I would do a combo of Clowney and Peyton Turner. Because Peyton Turner's not going to be able to demand any sort of wage whatsoever.
Oh,
He's just
no,
been
absolutely
completely
not.
useless.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I would give Clowney sort of the Mohammed contract. I know they don't want to pay AQM that, but Jadeveon Clowney's so much better. I'd give him $6 million a year, and then I give Peyton like 2, and then I think I'm sorted. I'm happy with that.
So there's several names here in a ring chasing situation that I am considering. The first name out of my mouth last week was AJ Epineza. 27 and a half years old, probably similar money to Jadeveon Clowney, but could be around for several years. Similar mold, can-crushing guy who can do a bit of pass rushing, maybe hasn't hit the heights he could in his career, but maybe some, meat on that bone still. In terms of a one-year wonder who provides pass rush only, but that's what we need, is Von Miller. I wouldn't hate it. He can still do it. The other guy is someone who does not fit culturally, who was rumoured to be linked with the Lions 4 years ago when he became available from the Carolina Panthers at the time, who was awful last year, but now is coming at a significant discount, which is Hassan Reddick. If you want someone of that mould at that sort of price point, and we've talked about the fact that we can't just draft culture fits all the time, and sometimes you've got to draft someone who might fuck shit up a bit, but maybe they've got a skill set that you can't find elsewhere. Reddick is exactly that guy. His AAV projected is 5 million. That's palatable for Reddick when he brings that skill set.
Yeah, you need someone who can get home. I'm not taking a run first guy again because it's just we have such a you look at the sheer lack of tackles for loss on this team, the ability to win one-on-one. is sadly lacking here. That has to be a priority for us to make plays in the backfield. He would be in that image. So yeah, again, I wouldn't mind too much, so long as they get guys in who are more technical based who can do this, because it's what we need desperately.
All right. Interior defensive lineman. We said maybe one in the draft and one in free agency. Well, here are your interior guys. I should say all of this list is ordered by last year's AAV. David Onyemata, DJ Reader, Daquan Jones, Larry Ogunjobi, Calais Campbell, Mario Edwards, Shelby Harris, Andrew Billings, Raheem Nunez Roches, Greg Gaines, Foley Fatukazi, Daniel Ikwale, Dean Lowry, Brandon Graham, Kevin Givens, Austin Johnson, Benito Jones, Kurt Hinish, Jerry Tillery, Isaiah Loudermilk, Jonathan Bullard, Jihad Ward. I'll skip over some names now as this is quite deep. Eddie Goldman, Sheldon Day, Jay Tufele, Perry and Winfrey, DJ Davidson, Jacqueline Roy. Anyone jumping out to you from that list?
It's not the greatest list, is it? Not particularly. It's tough because again, it's what you want a pass rusher out of that. So who's a pass rusher in there who's going to get you some go?
For me, I don't mind whether they're a pass rusher or a nose. You get one and you get the other in the draft if you can. I kind of don't care. Foley Fatukazi is someone who jumped out to me.
Yeah. See, for the money, I'd like Shelby Harris. Shelby Harris is very experienced.
I could see that.
And as far as I'm aware, got like 30 odd career sacks, something like that. I remember seeing that at one stage.
For sure. Yeah.
So he's got good pass rush ability. It's over a long time. The run defense has always been good. You know, I know the big move was made when he was part of the deal for Russ and that, but I always feel like he's been very solid. I thought he worked well with Mason Graham last year on that Browns deal. So I would like quite Shelby Harris would be nice in here. It's probably not going to cost you the world either, so...
Yeah. The number one guy for me on the board is Calais Campbell in terms of just how good he fucking is, even in his age 40 season.
Yeah.
But his projected AAV is 11 million.
Yeah.
I mean, last year he only took 5.5, but he was so good that they're projecting that he gets a significant pay jump for a 1-year deal. Now, if you could get him for 5.5, colour me interested, because Calais Campbell is a cracking player.
He's a Hall of Fame. He's going in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he might be a first ballot guy as well with his longevity.
It's the sack count alone. Like, the sack count is humongous. I know he's been in the league forever, but when you get up to where... Because he's well into the hundreds now. Like, you get over 100 sacks in the league, you're pretty much... You're not guaranteed in, but you're not doing your odds any favour. You're not doing your odds any disservice. Does he have a... I think he doesn't have a Super Bowl, though, does he?
No, he's spent most of his career in worse teams, frankly.
One of the things that's eluded him, so maybe he could be one of your depth pieces, but is he not more an edge rusher than an interior lineman?
I would say that he's like a 5-tech, or he's like a 3-4 defensive end, and he's a 4-3 DT, like pass rushing DT.
Well, the Lions like versatility, so you could probably slide him a bit here, there, and everywhere. If you wanted him to be your edge in front of Hassanin or someone like that, then you could make that palatable, providing you've got some good ones above.
Yeah, he spent the majority of his career on the edge, but the older he's gotten, the more he's kind of kicked inside a little bit. What's remarkable about his career is that he was drafted in 2008, and he has missed in that time 1, 4, 6, 10, 11... He's missed 14 games. So in his 18-year career, he's missed 14 games.
So basically, your average season for Marcus Davenport is his entire career.
Yeah.
That's great.
He's not missed a game in the last 3 seasons on 3 different teams. He's played in Arizona, Jacksonville, Baltimore, Atlanta, Miami, and Arizona again the last season. Incredible. How many sacks? 117.
Jesus. Yeah, that's going to get you in. I don't even think Myles Garrett has that many, does he?
Yeah, Garrett does. Surely.
Really?
Garrett
It's gotta be
has
up there.
that. Garrett surely has that in like 5-6 seasons. Garrett has 125 sacks. 125 and a half.
So they're pretty close.
They're pretty comparable, but Garrett was drafted in 17 and Cameron was
Yeah,
drafted in
he's had, like, half the
2008.
career. But still, it's longevity. Like the Hall likes longevity.
Oh yeah.
The Hall's very much in on longevity. So
Okay, we said that we needed 3 linebackers in a combination of free agency and draft, including a coverage linebacker and then just depth pieces, especially special teamers. Here is your list of linebackers in last year's AAV order. Bobby Okereke, Levante David, Bobby Wagner, Logan Wilson, Kenneth Murray, Matt Milano, Akeem Davis-Gaither, Landon Roberts, Chris Bors, Amen Ogbongbemiga, can't say that, Jack Cochran, D'Angelo Malone, Dion Jones, Ezekiel Turner, Taron Jackson, Jacob Phillips, Segun Olubi, and Mohamed Diabate. That is the entire list of available linebackers, apparently, which I struggle to believe, but there's some bigger names on that list. Unfortunately, I think they're all going to cost a fair bit too.
a lot of them are getting on in age as well. It would be kind of hypocritical to let Alex go and then bring in someone who's quite old to replace him, unless the money was significantly less. So
I don't think there's anyone in that list I want.
no, I'd cover. See, there's a new breed of coverage linebacker coming out of college now. It's more of an emphasis there, the way the game has evolved. I'd rather someone who's been trained specifically in college and is a lot younger and a lot more athletic. I don't want a 35-year-old being my coverage linebacker on my team. With all due respect to them, I'd rather do the younger route. So yeah, hopefully, hopefully it's a draft one. I mean, outside of that, you're looking for potential depth, really.
Yeah, UDFAs are going to be the name of the day here.
Who could be the bottom? Who could be the bottom linebacker on our roster?
Logan Wilson.
Someone like that. I mean, you could always bring King Cunningham back as 6.
Yeah.
I mean, Jack Sanborn would be quite fun.
So I saw Jack Sanborn on a list, but when I've run this again, he's not on this list, and I don't know why.
They probably might have put him as an edge.
No, they didn't put him as an edge. He's just not on the list.
Yeah, I think he could be interesting. He was undrafted free agent who's had a decent career in the league.
Jack Sanborn. Oh, here we go. I've just reloaded linebackers, and it's got a lot bigger. Right, some names I didn't list out that are now on this list. Devin Bush, Christian Roseboom, Jermaine Pratt, Jack Sanborn, Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, which is the most English person I've ever heard. There's Zach Cunningham, Shaq Thompson, Preston Smith doesn't belong here, Devin White doesn't belong in the league, Josh Woods, formerly of the Lions, Chaz Surratt, Brian Asamoah, former third round pick of the Vikings, Damone Clark, I liked a lot. Eric Kendricks could be interesting. I know he's old, but that would fit us for a year. Yeah, I think we're struggling otherwise.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to move on to corner. No, you said corner draft and safety draft. So that's the list. That is the list. There's slim pickings with upside, I would say, in all of these lists. There are some players which we would kind of like, but if they go, you're really struggling then, and you're filling gaps at the very back end of that roster.
Yeah. I think with corner and safety, you need to go younger, just for the long-term stability of the position. But yeah, it's not the easiest position to be in. There's still a lot of spots that need sorting, but there's a lot of time left yet. And again, roster cut downs haven't happened yet. We've always traditionally done well with those. So, we've still got plenty of opportunities. I think the main thing is that I know a lot of these ones we're looking for are depth players, so you don't go into the draft with too many very pressing concerns.
Yeah.
I think right now you're looking at tackle, but there'll be plenty there at 17 to satiate your appetite, or edge. There'll be plenty there. So you can get one of those and then just work your way with 50. You can do it either way. With Borum here, you can afford 50 for a tackle because you've got a bit of time to develop, and then at edge, if it's 50, then hopefully you've done enough in free agency where they can work their way too. So you're not in as bad a spot as you were this time last week.
All right. For the live chat right now, we might hang on for 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes if you've got any questions. But as we are, I'm just going to sign off on the audio college football podcast to come later on the week. Ant and Ryan are going to be answering some of your college questions and potentially coming up with a nice theme for the show. We will be back this time next week. I will not be back. I'm going to be on some well-earned R&R in Portugal, so I'll be landing actually on Monday, but I just won't be back for the show. I believe we're going to be talking some more positional prospects in this upcoming draft. We are working very hard on our draft show. We are starting to narrow down our guests. We are going to be live all 3 days of the draft with catch-up shows and roundup shows in between. As always, we are planning on having at least 31 guests representing the other 31 teams. So if you want to have a comprehensive show with in-depth look at every single team, who they want to draft, who they have drafted, what they think about different things, we're also hoping to have some unaffiliated guests who just have some really great college draft and other knowledge out there. We're in discussions with lots of people. So if there's anyone that you'd like us to have on the show, please do get suggestions out to us and we can send the message to that person in question. Otherwise, we just hope you can join us for that draft show because it's a labour of love for us, but I truly believe that we are best in class. We normally stream for at least 24 hours in those 3 days. Otherwise, you know where to find us on our socials: YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And the Facebook group for Worldwide fans is Detroit Lions fans, UK1 Pride Worldwide. The website, ROTLUK.com, where our newest writer in Poole Walker has recently released, as in 9 hours ago, his favourite day 3 offensive tackles in this NFL draft. So if you're interested in the depth tackle class, I've put the link in YouTube. And of course, you can go to our website if you're on the audio pod to have a look at that. But some really great depth knowledge from our guy, Paul. Otherwise, please like, subscribe, rate us 5 stars. You guys know what that means to us and how much we put into this and how much, we'd really appreciate that. So thank you in advance. Thank you to Ant for doing the show with me, and to all of you for listening. We'll see you next week on the main show and for the college show later on. But for now, let's go Lions One Pride.
One Pride.
Recording stopped.
Contrapastan says Paul does a great blurb. Thank you, Contrapastan. I appreciate that. Paul works very hard on that stuff, so I'm glad you're enjoying the stuff. Ken says, what is Portuguese food known for? So they're known for, I think, 2 things, primarily.
Pastel de nata.
Pastel de nata is one of the things I was going to mention. Custard tarts. And the other one I was going to say is pinchos, which is effectively Portuguese tapas. So small plates, bursting with flavour. I can't wait to try it. I've never really been and had any sort of Portuguese food before, really, apart from pastel de nata, which is glorious. We had a question somewhere. Grandizer asked whether I saw Ant's mock draft last week. I did not. I saw you commenting on who he was picking where, so I think Gabe Jackus was one that you picked, and that's a guy that's totally off my radar and I know nothing about him.
Yeah, I'm not happy with it. There's a lot of players I like on that draft, but I'm still to settle on. But he was on there. It's trying to get It's trying to get an edge at 50, who's still pretty good. So
there's only one I want. That's Malachi Lawrence, if he's still there.
Yeah, he keeps creeping up lists. So I don't know if he will be or not. I mean, it's hard, but it was there. But it was, yeah. I can do a little bit better with mid. I tried to fit Kyle Louis in and I can't, which is a pain. I don't think we're going to trade. I don't know if the trade market's going to be there for it. So, hmm.
I've been corrected in saying that pinchos are actually Basque rather than Portuguese. Apologies. We have a Pinchos restaurant in Bath, which is where I work, and they do Portuguese things and Pinchos, so I've just grouped them together. So, for
Yeah,
instance,
and the Basque region of Spain's not really that close to Portugal, so you
no,
can't get away with that either.
well, the Basque region is northern Spain, and Portugal
Yeah,
goes
but it's
all
like
the way.
central. It's like central northern.
Yes,
And
yes, San
Spain
Sebastian
overhangs at the
and
top.
Bilbao and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. My bad.
Fun fact: Basque football teams are not allowed to have non-Basque football players on them.
Yes,
that
Athletic
proud of their
Bilbao
heritage.
are very hard to play as in Football Manager, but very rewarding.
Yeah, gotta be Basque. Can't be anything else.
Grandizer says that Ryan traded up in his mock draft. I would trade up for
Yeah, he
Ruben
did.
Bain.
He traded up for a Monroe Freeling.
Sicko. As much as I love Freeling, sicko.
He gave up all next year's picks though, and next year's like the generational draft, so don't be doing that.
No.
Like
I would use next year's one to go to 5 for Bain.
No, I wouldn't. Next year's round one's just going to be too fucking tempting. Like, it's the 1 year you don't not want a first round pick. And
Why are you telling me this when we say it every year, though?
No. This isn't hyperbole. This is not hyperbole.
I don't like it.
When I say it could be one of the best draft classes of all time, it potentially could be. Just all over the show. Also includes my favorite ever safety prospect. More so than all the other safeties I've ever loved in my life.
No, this is a big claim. This is a very big claim. Who's that?
It is. KJ Bolden. It's KJ Bolden's year next year, the Georgia safety.
Is he a senior next year?
Nope, he's a junior.
So it would be an early declaration if he does declare.
Yep. Started every day since he was a true freshman.
Okay.
Honestly.
So he will be going.
Yeah. Unless he gets hurt, which I hope he doesn't. But I mean, the quarterback group's probably going to be much better to start with, but you're going to have Ahmad Hardy coming up. You're going to have Isaac Brown coming up as running backs. You're going to have the Jeremiah Smith part, Cam Coleman. You've just everywhere you look next year, apart from the edge class is shit, but everything else pretty much is potential to be generational. Really, really does. Don't waste your first this year. Don't give up next year's first for this year's.
Grandizer asks, how would you gauge this free agency class so far as opposed to Holmes's previous free agency classes? Better, the same, not as good. For me, we've not been particularly active in free agency. What we have has been bargain bin stuff where he's actually been relatively successful. In terms of actually paying guys, this is about as much as he ever does. And I quite like who he's paid. With the exception of Borom, and even then, I'm okay with it. So I would say that this is probably an above average free agent class for us, but Lions fans won't want to hear that.
I mean, it's unsexy.
It's
That's
definitely
what free agency is.
But we needed that.
Yeah. He solved our biggest problem at centre. That we couldn't go into the draft without a centre, because that means you've potentially got to spend you've got to overreach for one in the draft to get stability at the position, or you've got to move Tate out of position, which is no good, and get another guard, which you don't really want to do. So he solved our biggest need, and he's also taken some other needs immediately off the table. Like your slot corner. You don't need to invest in a starting slot corner for this year now in the draft, or potential someone really high. You can get a development slot corner. Running back, you can get a running back 3 now and work them up through the system. I think in some places you've made good additions. In corner safety, you can now draft a little later and have guys work their way through. So it's unsexy, but it's what it needed to be. It's given us freedom in the draft now. A lot more freedom than we had. We've still got some positions we're locked into, but I mean, compared to his others, I mean, last year felt a little bit more splashy. I don't know. It probably wasn't, but. And this year, I think the most important thing is he's let a lot of our free agents go, which was the right decision. Last year, when you're bringing back Davenport and Pascal and Levan, all those guys, it was not done right. I think letting more of the chaff go and restarting with some different guys is the right thing.
Chaff,
Whatever.
chafe is something that happens between your legs when you're too fat, like me.
Well, that applies to me as well. So
Fair. Sorry, that really made me laugh.
I don't think Dan Jackson's going to take meaningful snaps this year, Colin.
I don't. Dan Jackson's going to be on this roster.
No. I mean, Dan Jackson. Hasn't Dan Jackson done return work? Wasn't that one of his upsides, return work?
I think it was, yeah.
So maybe Dan Jackson gets involved in the returner sweepstakes. But with having Harper there and Izien, and us hopefully drafting someone high, I think the depth's going to be quite. You'd probably end up on the practice squad. I don't mind if you ended up on practice squad.
Grandizer asks, what was your must-have free agent that you wish that Holmes realistically would have signed, whether we have or not?
Kohler. I really wanted a much better tight end than Conklin, who could do a bit of both, and could have allowed us to sign a specific speciality tight end in the draft. Now, we've kind of got to play about a bit. Kohler would be the one. I know we got a lot of money, but I'd have paid him.
I really don't have any reading on anyone that I really, really wanted.
Although saying that, with Rashid Walker, the contract he got, I'd have done that in a heartbeat. 10 million for a year for him, starting left tackle all that time. I'd have quite happily done that deal in a heartbeat.
One of the worst run blocking tackles in the NFL, though. And you want run blocking from your tackles.
I mean, Larry Borom's not a good run blocker.
Borom is a lot better than Rashid Walker at run blocking. A lot better.
I'd have done it for the value and the potential of what you could have got with him if you'd have landed with him. I'd have done that, but Kohler would always be the one I'd say.
I'm looking through the list and I've got down to 8.5 mil AAV and I haven't seen anyone yet that I'm like pining for. I low-key wanted Tyler Algier, but I'm not sure we were going to pay $6 million again for a running back too.
No, not after we just let Monty go.
Kingsley Enagbare is someone that I really wanted.
That could have been fun.
Arnold Ebiketie was someone that I quite wanted. Charles Ameniu was someone that I kind of wanted.
You were asked for a must one, not a load.
Yes, I know. Okay, must.
Who's the one where you were really gutted when they moved? And it wasn't us.
None of these guys. None of them. I'll tell you what. Before we got Roger McCreary, because I was delighted with that, the one I really wanted was Nate Hobbs. 1 year, 4 mil.
I'd have been up for that.
1 year, 4 mil for a starting nickel's pretty good. Down to Sam Howell. Still haven't seen anyone that's like a must-have. No, no one. I'm not that fussed with this whole free agent class.
Yeah.
The one that's the most is Enagbare.
Okay.
Carlton asks... Ken wanted safety Nick Cross. That would have been really fun too.
Yeah.
Donkey Kong says, where's our edge? Not here yet. Grandizer asks about this year's draft stream. Is it going to be a marathon 12, 24 hour or just during the time of the draft? So generally speaking, from about 2 Eastern time, we'll do a preview show the night of the draft. The day before, we will have done a betting show. On the Wednesday, we'll do our draft bets. Thursday, we'll have a preview show and then nap time, followed by being live for all of day one. And then we'll have a recap show at about 7 a.m. Eastern time after day one. Then day 2, we're live through the whole thing. then a recap show 7 a.m. after day 2, and then we'll be live for all of day 3, and then a recap show 7 a.m. on Sunday. So 1.5 hour little recap shows in between, and a preview show for day 1, and then otherwise it's pretty much just live during the whole thing. Carlton asks how many tight ends we think we carry in our 53.
What do we normally take?
Normally 3.
I wouldn't think that'd change this year.
No, I think 3 as well.
Yeah, you could argue that maybe the 3 we've got now, but I would still be looking. But you don't know how it's going to shake out closer, because I think, we're going to need to take more DBs with the injuries that we've got. And we're going to need to take, I 3 would probably be the optimistic guess.
I think you'd be choosing between tight end 4 and wide receiver 6. So whichever is the better player out of those two is who you're taking.
Yeah, I think the draft will tell you a lot. If they draft one relatively high, like with 150 or above, I think then you could probably say they'll go with 4, because I don't think they'll get rid of Brock Wright.
We've got an out-and-out question here from Donkey Kong, who says, who's your pick at 17? And to you, sir, I say, what are picks 1 to 16? Because I don't know who's available. I can see things like Reuben Bain falling because people get scared of his arm length. I can see Caleb Downs falling because no one wants to draft a safety that high. I can see Spencer Farno falling because people don't want to draft a guard that high. I can see Mansell Delane falling for no reason at all. Like,
who's your gut instinct though? Or who would you want at 17 that you can realistically argue for?
Spencer
Farno.
Someone
could fall.
Spencer Farno, I think, will be there at 17.
But
the thing is, a lot of people think he's going to go at like 6, but I think Freeland has taken his spot, and I think that Farno is going to get the people are going to be spooked by his arms.
Yeah.
And I think he'll be there, and I would be delighted to take him. The other one is probably TJ Parker in a trade down, and I don't pick at 17 at all. Or Dylan Tieneman, but that's very rich. Even though I love Tieneman, it's still very rich.
I wouldn't be doing that. Yeah, it'd either be Farno or Parker for me.
A lot of people are saying Blake Miller at the moment, and it feels like Blake Miller is catapulting above draft. Like, at the moment, in consensus, he's at 36. But I've seen him go top 10 in drafts now. He is starting to go top 10 in mocks.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, mocks are mocks.
But mocks reflect, especially the longer you go on down the process, the coalescing of the draft community into where NFL teams are. NFL teams are already where they are, and the draft community just catches up to that.
But again, at the same point, there's fads at the minute. Offensive tackle is the latest fad to go really high, because obviously it's value for money. So you'll see a rush like safety. There were rush on safety after the combine. All the safeties did really well. Now the tackles are getting their love. I think you'll see him slow down again. Like Ioane was been talked about as a top 10 guy. Now his buzz has dropped off for no reason. It's just
I would take him if he was there.
I wouldn't, because it would cause fucking chaos. Like you've then just made Mahogany, Scruggs, and Frazier redundant without moving them positions. I'd rather just let them fight out from left guard.
Fair. Pinky or Bobber says, would you take Downs at 17 if he was available, if it meant Borom had to start a tackle?
Ooh.
Yes. But I had to think about it for at least a couple of seconds.
I would say that for the right player, if someone fell, there'd be more than one. I'd do it for him. I'd do it for Sonny Styles. I'd do it for Reuben Bain. There's 3 or 4 guys I'd do that for. So yes, I am willing to let Borom be a starter for a while if the right person falls.
I do think that tackle is just going to be the pick at 17, though.
I do. But having Borum here means that you're not nailed onto it. And if someone should fall, you can be brave enough to take that pick then.
Yep.
Because you do have a backup. That's the one good thing Borum does bring to this team, is you're not locked in. Teams know you're locked in, then they'll figure out how to deal with you a bit more. Whereas if teams keep trading above us and getting tackles, and one of these guys falls, fine. You overdraft your tackles, and we'll take the guy that's fell, and we'll just make our team better.
Yep.
And that's Brad's ethos. Just take great football players in the draft and build your team around them. That's how he's always done it.
DC Smithers comes in with the last question because I'm going to need to go now, given that it's 7 p.m. Eastern. Lions had guard Ben Barch in for a visit today. What are your thoughts? My thoughts are pretty much like what Ant was saying about drafting maybe the best guards in the draft, which is what a waste of the existing guys that we have. I don't care. I don't want him.
Yeah, we've invested because he's a left guard as well, if I remember rightly. So you've already got Mahogany fighting for that. You've already got Frazier fighting for that. You've got Scruggs fighting for that because that's the side Scruggs likes to play. If you said you were going to bring him in a sitch where he would be a camp body who's fighting for a spot and you're not spending on it, maybe, but feels pointless. We've got 3 good options for the left guard spot. Just let them fight out over it.
Yeah. All right. That is going to do it, everybody. I have packing to do. So I'm going to love you and leave you. Thanks to everyone for the questions. This has been great. I'll see you all in about 2 weeks, but you're in very capable hands. Have a great couple of weeks. Cheers, Sam, for holding the fort, and see you guys soon. Bye for now.
Take care, everybody.